What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 3KC51 Terrifying Special Curse, Strong Breath of Death, Asking for Flowers. The boys are outside of the Yingji Juvenile Detention Center. Assistant Supervisor Eiichi Kiyotaka is making his final emphasis. Please remember one thing. The upcoming task is beyond our capabilities. So I hope you all remember, absolutely no fighting. Eiichi Kiyotaka's expression and tone are very serious, making the whole scene tense. When encountering a special grade curse, there are only two options, escape or die. Just listen to your own fears. When Eiichi says this with a serious expression, Itadori and the others also show a heavy expression. Don't forget, your mission is only to confirm and rescue survivors. Just as the emphasis ends, a guardian appears outside the blockade line to inquire about their child's situation. However, Eiichi skillfully resolves the situation. Seeing the guardian crying, Itadori recalls what his grandfather had said to him and what the mysterious person had said to him. You are strong, you must help others. Ah, what a troublesome curse. Itadori mutters quietly and then puts on a serious expression, saying to himself, Fushiguro, Nagasaki. We must rescue the people, Nagasaki also says with a natural expression, of course. Fushiguro remains silent, lacking much enthusiasm. As the three enter the school building, Eiichi quickly lowers the curtain. Seeing the curtain for the first time, Itadori notices that the sky has darkened and is immediately surprised. Looking at the slowly descending curtain with a curious expression. Ah, it's getting dark, Yuji. Seeing Itadori's reaction, Fushiguro and Kugisaki sigh helplessly in their hearts. Seriously, did Gojo-sensei not even teach him this common knowledge? He's really incompetent. Fushiguro explained to Itadori with a troubled expression, this is a curtain. Because we're very close to the residential area this time, we need to hide ourselves from the outside using a barrier. That's amazing, Itadori exclaimed, looking at the curtain that enveloped them. So ignorant. Nobara also gave Itadori a look as if he were a country bumpkin. As the curtain completely descended, Fushiguro also summoned a Shikigami, Jade Hound. With the Jade Hound on guard, the three of them pushed open the door of the building and walked inside. Advertisement however, before they had taken a few steps, they were captivated by the scenery in front of them. What appeared before their eyes was something that could no longer be called a building. It was impossible to associate it with the two-story dormitory building. Because the building in front of them was far more than 2 stories. In addition to its peculiar structure, Fushiguro quickly determined that they were not inside a building, but inside a domain created by curses. A domain created by cursed energy? It's the first time I've seen one of this scale. Thinking this, Fushiguro was instantly shocked and quickly turned around to shout, "Where's the door?" Itadori and Nobara also turned around to look, surprise. However, there was no door in front of them, only a pile of abandoned sewage pipes. Huh? Itadori and Nobara both let out a gasp of surprise. The door is gone. Why, didn't we just come in from here? Both of them looked nervous. But soon, when they heard Fushiguro say that the Jade Hound remembered the scent of the exit, their nervousness instantly disappeared. They ran over to praise the Jade Dog together. Regarding this, Fushiguro frowned and sarcastically commented, "You guys should be more concerned." Right after he finished his sarcastic comment, Itadori smiled brightly and said, "Indeed, Fushiguro is the most reliable. Thanks to you, the people inside can be saved, and I can be saved too." Fushiguro looked at Itadori expressionlessly, without saying anything, just silent for a moment before saying, "Let's continue forward." After saying that, he took the lead and walked forward, and Itadori and the others quickly followed. After the three of them left, Bai Ye, who had assimilated with the environment inside the domain, appeared. Watching the gradually disappearing shadows of the three, he couldn't help but smile lightly. "You're really not straightforward enough, Fushiguro. What are you going to do next? Domain expansion, absolute assimilation." Bai Ye snapped his fingers lightly, and in that instant, he unfolded his domain and assimilated the entire domain. In less than 0.01 seconds after assimilation, he retracted his own domain expansion. In that brief moment, he became the owner of this domain, snatching the dominance from the special grade curse. In the instant when the curse had no reaction, he completed the modification of the path Fushiguro and the others were advancing on. Unaware, the three continued to move forward along the path modified by Bai Ye. Soon, they discovered the bodies of the 3 missing persons. Advertisement there was even a dispute over whether or not to take the bodies, completely unaware that the special grade curse was already close by. "You two, stop. What are you doing? Are you stupid? Even when arguing, you should clarify the time and place." Just as Wild Rose was angrily about to come and stop the two, her feet instantly sank into the ground. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared from here without a trace. By the time Fushiguro and Itadori noticed something was wrong, Wild Rose's figure was already gone. Nailsaki. Itadori hadn't reacted yet, but Fushiguro felt a chill in his heart. Open black lens bracket. How is this possible? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The Jade Dog didn't detect any trace of the curse's aura. Close black lens bracket. As he thought this in his heart, he quickly turned around to look, only to see that the Jade Dog had already been smashed into the wall. Only its head was left exposed. It completely looked like a state of death. A wave of deathly fear instantly enveloped the two of them. Without any time for thinking, Fushiguro's mind only produced one thought. Escape. Itadori. Fushiguro immediately shouted. Run fast. Turn around and find Nailsaki. Shock. However, just as he finished speaking, a person-shaped curse with watermelon patterns on its head appeared beside them. That powerful curse power, terrifying pressure, prevented them from even thinking about escaping. Even if they wanted to escape, they were powerless to move. Their legs simply wouldn't obey. Cold sweat kept pouring out from the backs of the two of them. There won't be any mistakes. This is a special grade. I can't move. Fushiguro clenched his teeth, his inner voice stern. Itadori could only helplessly shout in his mind, move, move, but his body didn't respond at all. The special grade curse brought an unparalleled fear of death to the two of them. 52 Curse enraged, Nozaki in desperation, seeking data. To help others. Under the terrifying pressure brought by the special grade curse, these words popped into Itadori's mind. Supported by these words, Itadori's body finally had a slight reaction. Ah! With a low growl, Itadori forcefully swung the cursed tool towards the curse beside him. However, just as he made his move, he saw a sea of crimson before his eyes. With a clattering sound, the hand holding the broken cursed tool fell to the ground. Itadori's left hand was directly severed by the curse from his wrist. The speed was so fast that not even Itadori felt a hint of pain. His palm was gone. It wasn't until he saw the red liquid flowing out that he and Fushiguro snapped back to reality. Itadori. Fushiguro instinctively called out. At Fushiguro's call, Itadori finally came to his senses. Quickly tying a belt around his artery and confirming that there was no chance of escape, Itadori immediately called out to Sukuna. Hey, Sukuna. If I die, you die too. If you don't want to die, help me out. Upon receiving Itadori's call, Sukuna opened his mouth on his face and casually said in a superior manner, I refuse. Even if I die inside you, I still have 18 fragments of my soul left. And what's even more annoying is that I am not the controller of this body. If you want to switch, I can do that too, but then, I will kill that little brat next to you before the cursed spirit. And then, that girl, that lively girl, it should be quite enjoyable to fight her. Shock. Just as Sukuna said these words, a powerful surge of cursed energy suddenly flashed by. Not only Itadori and Fushiguro, even the special grade curse and Sukuna were startled and broke out in a cold sweat. It was an overwhelming and powerful cursed energy. As if sinking into a quagmire, a tremendous force that even halted their thoughts. This is the aura that leaked out from Bai Ye after hearing Sukuna's words. But it was just a momentary flash, not to mention Itadori and the others, even Sukuna couldn't believe it. The curse power just now, was it an illusion? Both Fushiguro and Itadori had a bad feeling in their hearts. Could there be an even stronger curse? Because of the fleeting curse power, it instantly angered this special grade curse with little intelligence. It suddenly spewed an attack towards the two of them. Like spitting saliva. Advertisement, but it wasn't saliva, nor was it Jujutsu attack, it was simply the release of curse power. Even so, the destruction caused by the attack quickly spread from where the two of them were standing to Bai Ye's feet. Then it stopped causing further damage. The attack was completely neutralized in front of Bai Ye. And Bai Ye didn't make any unnecessary movements, just stood there, resolving this formidable attack. Although they are both curse power, there is a world of difference between curse powers. This special grade curse's curse power is nothing more than this in front of Bai Ye. However, for Itadori and Fushiguro, it's a different story. Fushiguro was directly scared and stunned. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Itadori also realized that they couldn't win with just the two of them. So he decided to switch out. Fushiguro. Having figured out a plan, Itadori shouted directly, take Namami and leave this place. I will find a way to restrain this guy until you escape. When you're out, find a way to give me a signal, and I will switch out Sukuna then. After hearing Itadori's plan, Fushiguro immediately objected. How is that possible? How can one hand deal with special grade cursed power? However, Itadori did not change his mind. Instead, he carefully observed his opponent and analyzed, take a closer look. It has already been provoked. And you noticed the immense cursed power just now, right? There might be even stronger curses here. If we leave them all behind, everyone will die. But if it's just me, I can release Sukuna when necessary, so I should be able to buy some time. No. Fushiguro still disagreed. Fushiguro, Itadori shouted in a deep voice. Then he turned around and smiled, saying with a determined voice, I'm counting on you, Fushiguro. On the other side, Kugisaki Nobara was pulled into another space. Seeing nothing but darkness in front of her, Nobara couldn't help but complain, seriously? What kind of place is this? It's pitch black, can't see anything. Shocked. Just as she complained, a creepy feeling emerged, and the presence of a curse appeared not far away. Without hesitation, she directly took out her own cursed tool and assumed a defensive posture. The next moment, advertisement countless, face spirits, appeared in front of her. Cursed spirits with prominent faces. Their numbers were so overwhelming that she felt a sense of despair. What's the deal with these curses? With a loud shout, as if cheering herself on, she immediately took action. On Fushiguro's side, after contemplating, he chose to believe in Itadori. Without any hesitation, he escaped from the scene and summoned the Shikigami, Nu. Then he summoned the black dog to search for Nobara's whereabouts. However, the black dog couldn't find any trace of Nobara's scent. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Why can't we find Toji Zenin? Fushiguro fell into panic and anger, but Toji Zenin was already in a desperate situation. Stepping on the defeated cursed spirit, Toji looked at the last nail in his hand and the countless remaining curses, feeling a bit troubled. There's only one left. If I had known, I would have brought more. After complaining, Toji couldn't help but look up at the pitch-black sky and said regretfully, I really want to see Mr. Bai Ye again. As for everything happening in the field, Bai Ye naturally knew it all. He didn't plan to intervene directly, but he wouldn't just watch Toji get defeated by the curse. Fushiguro Megumi, are you really going to give up like this? Bai Ye's voice sounded in Fushiguro's ear. Fushiguro, who had been on edge, was even more frightened. This voice was too eerie, it appeared without any warning. Just like when a special grade curse appears, Tama didn't sense it at all. But unlike before, Tama wasn't under attack this time. Bai Ye didn't answer Fushiguro, but continued, are you planning to wait until your comrades are all killed by the curse, and then console yourself with the words, I did my best, to cover up the fact that your wavering caused the death of your trusted comrades? No, of course not, Fushiguro denied without hesitation. I won't let my comrades die. Seeing Fushiguro's resolute denial and genuine emotions, Bai Ye smiled slightly. Then let me guide you. 53 Itadori's regret, release Sukuna. You scoundrel, I'll remember you. I will definitely curse you. Nagasaki, using the last bit of his curse power, was caught by the curse and, just before being swallowed by its gaping mouth, he still didn't forget to speak harshly. However, these curses did not scare Nagasaki. Instead, they elicited bursts of mocking laughter. Under Bai Ye's guidance, Faye quickly found the location where Nagasaki was. Without time to thank Bai Ye, Faye rushed in and successfully rescued Nagasaki. Up until this point, Bai Ye still hadn't appeared. Blending into the darkness, becoming one with the environment. It seems like the timing is just right. After confirming that Faye and Nagasaki had reunited, Bai Ye muttered a sentence before leaving from here and returning to the main battlefield. At this moment, Itadori was already in a bitter battle. No matter how he attacked, he couldn't inflict any damage on the curse. Curses can only be exorcised with curses. Without the use of curse power, it is impossible to exorcise curses. Especially when it's a special grade curse, Itadori himself also realized this. While he was contemplating a strategy, the curse had already created a curse power barrier that was continuously expanding outward. The moment Itadori touched the barrier, his palm was already filled with flying flesh and blood. And it continued to decay. A sharp pain surged through his sensory nerves. The breath of death instantly invaded his mind, occupying his entire thoughts. Open black lens bracket, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket, why'd I have to endure all this? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket, if I hadn't picked up the finger, if I hadn't swallowed it, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket, back then. Close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket, back then. Close black lens bracket. In Itadori's mind, scenes from the past kept appearing, like a revolving lantern, fantasizing about how if he hadn't made such a choice, back then, he wouldn't be facing thoughts of death. Open black lens bracket, stop. Stop thinking. Close black lens bracket. Itadori clenched his teeth and admonished himself in his heart. However, the more he tried not to think about it, the more images appeared in his mind. Advertisement meeting with Fushiguro. The opportunity to swallow the finger. The people he met after entering the high school division. Open black lens bracket, enough. I've had enough. Close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket, I want to escape. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. I really want to escape. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. I don't want to die. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If I die here, would this be a right death? Close black lens bracket. The image of his grandfather before he left also appeared at this moment, along with the last words, help others. Stop thinking. At the same time Itadori shouted this from the bottom of his heart. The curse's barrier reached its peak, instantly sending Itadori, who was struggling to resist, flying away. While being thrown away, Itadori finally realized something. Open black lens bracket. So, I'm really this weak. Close black lens bracket. Bang. As his thoughts settled, Itadori finally made contact with the ground. His entire being was on the verge of collapse, and the wall behind him had already been hit by the impact from his body, leaving a large dent. I was too arrogant, thinking that I was strong enough to choose how to die. Itadori, with a collapsed mentality and a depressed will, weakly leaned against the wall behind him and sat on the ground, looking at his rotten right hand and muttering to himself. But it's not true, I'm too weak, I'm simply too weak. Feeling dejected, Itadori stood up and involuntarily covered his eyes, which were about to shed tears of frustration, with his bloody and mangled arms, and shouted in despair, "Ah! I don't want to die, no, don't, but I still have to die. The right death, that's not it, don't be naive." As he said this, tears couldn't be stopped anymore. Mixed with the red liquid flowing from his wounds, tears fell from his face. Even Bai Ye, who was mentally prepared for this scene, found it difficult to look at. But he couldn't intervene. This is Itadori's path to growth. It is also a necessary condition for him to fake Itadori's death. Advertisement if possible, he really didn't want this 15-year-old boy to experience such hardships. A Jujutsu sorcerer doesn't exist without regrets in death. Yaga Masamichi's words echoed in Itadori's mind, spoken with a solemn expression during their conversation about entering school. However, he didn't agree. Even so, I still hope that in the end, I can say that I died with no regrets. Wiping away his tears, Itadori made a decision. He would completely bring out all the negative emotions that can generate curses, such as hatred, fear, and regret, and concentrate them onto his own fists. Under the influence of determination, Itadori's fist was enveloped in cursed energy. He aimed at the curse and threw a punch with force. However, the curse let out a triumphant laugh. Damn it! He put all his hopes into this punch, but it was easily blocked by the curse. In the next instant, a woo! The howl of the Jade Hound came from outside. It was the signal from Fushiguro that they had safely escaped outside. Without any further delay, Itadori directly switched with Sukuna inside his body. In that moment, even as a special grade curse, it sensed a strong sense of unease. The person in front of it was far more powerful than itself. The curse suddenly retreated, and Itadori's injuries were completely healed in that instant. Faced with Itadori's forced switch, Sukuna, who was forced to work, was very displeased. "You brat, the more I look at you, the more I hate you." While Sukuna muttered, he did not notice Bai Ye, who had been observing them from not far away. If he had been noticed, there is no way they would be this relaxed now. Bai Ye only smiled slightly at the current outcome. It seems to be going very smoothly, 54 full of flaws, but no flaws. This little brat really annoys people, he completely looks down on me. After Sukuna took control, instead of immediately dealing with the curse, he raised his hand and patted the shoulder of the curse, seemingly trying to calm down the extremely nervous curse. "Just wait a moment, I'm thinking about how to make this little brat regret." As he spoke, he began to contemplate on his own, completely disregarding this special grade curse. Meanwhile, during Sukuna's contemplation, the curse that had been held down by him with one hand appeared somewhat afraid. Although it didn't have high intelligence, it knew that it couldn't act rashly now, because it couldn't see through the opponent's strength at all. In front of Sukuna, the strength of a single finger was completely insignificant. Looking at the scene before him, Bai Ye's mouth curved slightly. Not only was there no worry, but he also relaxed. At the same time, he released the Jujutsu, and his figure slowly emerged. However, no one noticed the change here, even Sukuna didn't sense anything. After a moment, Sukuna revealed a sinister smile, as he thought of a perfect plan. He let go of the hand holding the curse, and then turned around defenselessly, facing away from the curse, saying, "Hey, let's go kill those brats. Follow me." As he walked away, Sukuna beckoned to the curse with his finger. However, the curse didn't obey Sukuna's words. Instead, it immediately created distance between the two. It was precisely because of this distance that the curse finally discovered Bai Ye's presence. Silent. Full of flaws, yet flawlessly so, seemingly present, yet unable to be sensed. Close at hand, yet feeling as if it's far away, I cannot understand. Especially the calm and relaxed feeling emanating from Bai Ye's body, even more carefree than Sukuna, instantly instilled fear in curse, causing its heart to race uncontrollably. With just a casual glance, Bai Ye made Curse shiver all over. In that instant, this newly born Curse understood that there were two beings here whose power far surpassed its own. Unfathomable. Unforgivable. With its limited intelligence, it cannot tolerate the existence of anything surpassing it. In its eyes, these two individuals are challenging its power. It acted without hesitation. Advertisement cursed power gathered between its hands. In the blink of an eye, an energy ball formed by cursed power had already taken shape. The next moment, the enormous energy ball was thrown towards Bai Ye with terrifying destructive power. The intense fluctuation of cursed power naturally did not escape Sukuna's perception. Fool. Just as he was getting a little angry, thinking that Curse was planning to attack him and preparing to defend against the attack, he suddenly realized that the target of the attack was not him. Instead, it was a blurry figure standing not far away. That person had no trace of cursed power fluctuation, and their body was full of flaws. But it made him feel a hint of awe and excitement. He didn't know when this person appeared, nor how long they had been standing there. No residuals whatsoever. Although their stance seemed full of flaws, there were actually no flaws at all. This person is very strong. The first thought that crossed Sukuna's mind was this, followed by a wave of horror and a chilling sensation in his body. That is, seemingly realizing something, Sukuna couldn't help but let out a low growl. At the same time, Curse's attack had already reached Bai Ye's front. Carrying an explosive destructive aura, however, Bai Ye did not make any move, as if he had no intention of avoiding it at all. Boom! With a loud explosion, the energy ball exploded in front of Bai Ye, raising countless dust. Curse couldn't help but let out a triumphant laugh. However, when the dust settled, Bai Ye remained unharmed, not even a speck of dust on his shoulders. The attack couldn't even get close to Bai Ye's body, as it was already neutralized by the curse power emanating from him. A qualitative difference. For a moment. Under the curse power of Bai Ye, which was like a vast ocean, even the special grade curse couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. With its intelligence, it couldn't understand why its attack had no effect. But one thing it was clear about, the person in front of it was an enemy. Bathed briefly in the pressure of Bai Ye's curse power, even Sukuna had a cold sweat on his forehead. The seemingly calm curse power is actually hiding a terrifying storm. It's like a volcano that could erupt at any moment. Sukuna subconsciously swallowed his saliva, not daring to make any rash moves. That's right, he's the one who appeared back then. Advertisement. The familiar overwhelming power reminded Sukuna of the time when he was suppressed by someone with just one hand after obtaining the vessel. I really want to fight you, but I'm afraid I don't even have a chance to escape now. Although his body was itching to run away, his inner pride prevented him from showing any signs of panic to Bai Ye. Running away would definitely expose more weaknesses. Initiating an attack? Although he had the intention, he had no strength. His body kept resisting. Reason told him not to act rashly. Therefore, being still and adapting to changes was the best choice. At this moment, the foolish curse, lacking wisdom, has been completely enraged. In its eyes, there is only one enemy left with flaws all over. An unforgivable enemy. In the next instant, seeing Bai Ye's flaws all over, Curse, who thinks there is an opportunity, reveals a sinister smile. Then, at a speed invisible to the naked eye, it rushes behind Bai Ye and raises its hand, preparing to strike Bai Ye's head with a knife hand motion. Fool! Seeing Curse's suicidal move, even Sukuna couldn't help but mutter. That is an existence that even he fears, yet a curse with the strength of a mere finger dares to foolishly launch an attack. It's simply seeking death, terrifying. At the same time, the curse already behind Bai Ye instantly feels a strong aura of death. Although the person in front of it is motionless and full of flaws, it is drenched in cold sweat. Sweat keeps pouring from its forehead, its heart suddenly tightens, and its heartbeat accelerates. Intuition warns it loudly of danger. It wants to retreat, but it is already too late. With a splutter, the curse's arm is neatly severed from the shoulder. No one can see how it was done, even Sukuna can only vaguely make a guess. And what shocked him even more was another thing. Just as Curse made its move, he had a premonition. If I couldn't resist joining in just now, I would definitely have been killed. Unlike their shock, Bai Ye casually moves his neck and then smiles faintly, saying, let's just move a little. 55 Show your true skills and get rid of the special curse. In an instant, the arm was severed, so fast that Curse took a few seconds to react, instantly showing a painful expression. Huh? Even a cursed spirit would cherish its own arm? Bai Ye glanced lightly at the arm that had fallen not far away and continued, since you said you wanted to have some exercise, then take it seriously and show me 1% of your true ability. As soon as the words fell, Bai Ye moved in an instant and, at a speed faster than Curse could blink, pressed its head to the ground. Boom. The ground cracked inch by inch. Curse was instantly hit and vomited blood. Hey, what's wrong? Can't you resist at all? Show me a little more of your true ability? Curse let out an angry and painful roar, trying to climb up from the ground. However, boom, Bai Ye mercilessly stepped on Curse's head again, the intense impact directly crushing the entire corridor in the air. In just a brief exchange, Bai Ye severely injured Curse. Meanwhile, Sukuna, who was watching from the side, was also shocked and completely overwhelmed. He didn't see Bai Ye's movements clearly. What's even more terrifying is what Bai Ye said just now. 1% of their true ability. Is this only 1% of their true strength? How much power does this person really have? Every time Sukuna encounters Bai Ye, he gains a new understanding of them. And each time, it becomes more terrifying. This special grade curse is no match for Bai Ye at all. It can be said that it has greatly disappointed him. Although you are both special grade, but you and him are not on the same level at all. Pointing at Itadori possessed by Sukuna, Bai Ye looked at the curse regretfully and said, and it seems like you have no idea what a curse is. Let me show you what true Jujutsu is. While Bai Ye was speaking, he formed hand seals with his hands clasped together. Domain expansion. Advertisement, absolute assimilation. In an instant, this immature domain created by the special grade curse was assimilated by Bai Ye. He took control of the domain. He became the only true god within the domain. Shocked. What kind of monster is this? Just as Sukuna realized that he was suddenly in a terrifying and hellish place, making him feel uncomfortable and sweat on his forehead. The special grade curse had already been sliced into pieces by Bai Ye's Jujutsu. Just like evenly sliced raw fish, although he could achieve this level as well, he couldn't move freely within this domain at all. He had a premonition that even if he also expanded his domain, he wouldn't be able to counteract its effects. Moreover, the opponent might not only be able to assimilate one domain. If that were the case, even if he expanded his domain, it would be useless. Not being able to enhance his own strength is one thing, but it might even have a negative impact on him, so he absolutely cannot expand his domain when fighting against the opponent. Absolutely, not only should he not expand his domain, but he should also try his best to avoid being involved in someone else's domain. Apart from directly confronting the opponent's attacks, he couldn't think of any means to win. Escape from here. This idea, which even surprised Sukuna, arose in his mind. Every pore in his body was protesting intensely, urging him to leave by sweating profusely. Hey, you brat. Hey, are you kidding me? Losing consciousness at a time like this? Quickly switch with me. Sukuna urgently called out to Itadori in his heart. However, his call fell on deaf ears. If it were under normal circumstances, he would naturally be happy about this situation, but now, he couldn't be happy at all. Although he still had 17 other fingers besides the 3 fingers here, if he were to lose these 3 fingers at once, even if he could collect the remaining fingers in the future, his power would be greatly diminished. Run away. Although it's very unwilling, but there's no other way. Advertisement. Although he felt unwilling in his heart and really wanted to challenge Bai Ye right now, he couldn't afford to not come up with any countermeasures. After my strength recovers a bit more. While thinking this in his heart, his body had already started to move. Since the domain assimilated by Bai Ye is not a closed one, Sukuna had a slim chance of escape. Outside the domain, Fushiguro bandaged the injured Wild Rose and then Ijichi Kiyotaka drove her away. Please expand the evacuation area to a range of 10 kilometers, Fushiguro pleaded. Fushiguro, what are your plans? I'm waiting here for Itadori to come back. If anything happens, it's my responsibility to handle it. I see. Once I take Miss Nagasaki to the hospital, I'll come back as soon as possible, Ijichi said earnestly. However, Fushiguro directly rejected this proposal, saying, No, Mr. Ijichi, it wouldn't make any sense for you to come over. If possible, please have Jujutsu sorcerers of grade 1 or higher come. But I don't think there's anyone left, Ijichi. Fushiguro's words pierced Ijichi's heart like a sharp sword. Although he felt somewhat unwilling, he had to admit that Fushiguro was speaking the truth. I'll do my best then, I'll take my leave, surprised. Ijichi had just left. Fushiguro sensed that the cursed womb had already closed. This meant that the special grade had already died. As long as Itadori returns safely. Just as Fushiguro was thinking this, a figure appeared behind him without him noticing. There was no aggressive aura like that of a special grade curse, but it was even more overwhelming. It made him involuntarily show a frightened state all over his body. Gulp. He struggled to swallow a mouthful of saliva. As this, Itadori or Sukuna, testimonials first of all, I want to apologize to everyone. I'm sorry. Secondly, I want to express my gratitude to everyone. Thank you very much. This book was supposed to be released in December, but it wasn't available until April of the following year. There were countless interruptions during this period, and I apologized to everyone. But even so, everyone has been following along all the way, and I am extremely grateful. Words cannot express my gratitude. Let me explain the reasons for the interruptions, not as excuses, but simply to provide an explanation. Initially, it was because the data was too poor, so I stopped writing. The editor also said there was no need to continue writing. But later, I couldn't accept it. In order to write this book, which is also Mao Bao's first fan work, I stayed up for 2 days to finish reading the manga and organized a bunch of materials. I couldn't just give up like that. So I picked it up and continued writing. The second interruption was because I went back home. Mao Bao might have mentioned that it was because I couldn't find a job and had no source of income. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to support myself by writing and would starve to death, so I had to go back home to prepare for the civil service exam. As it turned out, this decision didn't make me starve to death. But when I went back home, I had to work. I had to weed the fruit trees, then I had to help repair the pigsty, and I had to cook. I was too tired at night to write a single word, so I just went to bed. After finishing the repairs on the pigsty, I picked up writing again, but then I had a blind date. Many people have said that they don't believe it. The woman was introduced by relatives and she was from the neighboring province, over 400 kilometers away from where we are. I didn't want to go originally, but because it was a relative's introduction, it wouldn't be good if I didn't go, so I went. It took 3 days, 1 day to travel there by train. The next day we met. I took a liking to the woman. She had a bit of baby fat, everything she should have, and she was the type one liked. Most importantly, she was a nurse, which I liked. However, the woman didn't take a liking to me. I don't need to say it, but I know the reason. It's because I don't have a job, and my family is from the countryside, while the woman is from the city, so she thinks I have no future. So that night, she declined my invitation to go out the next day. To be honest, I didn't have much hope for finding a match on the first blind date. Advertisement I didn't expect it to have such a big impact on me. It was my first time, and I had taken a liking to her. My mindset was unbalanced, and I couldn't fall asleep that night no matter what. Because my relatives went with me, and since they were the ones who introduced us, they felt a bit guilty seeing me get rejected. So they suggested taking me to a scenic area on the third day, and then returning in the afternoon. So on the third day, we went to visit Dianchi Lake, ate crossing the bridge rice noodles, and tried the local specialty mushrooms. By the time we got back home, it was already past midnight. Because I couldn't sleep the previous night, I fell asleep as soon as I got back. I took a break from writing for 3 days, then it was time for Chinese New Year. Because the control measures in our rural area weren't too strict, we went to visit relatives and friends. It wasn't convenient to write at other people's houses, so I didn't write, because Cat Bao hadn't told anyone that I was writing a novel, and I couldn't bring myself to say it. Then a friend asked me to play games with him at night. I thought I would just play casually, as long as I could control myself, but the result. I don't need to say it, but I spent the whole month of February playing games. In March, I said I would return to writing, but I couldn't quit gaming. I realized I couldn't continue being idle and had a lot of debts to repay, so I made up my mind and sold all my gaming equipment. I'm so broke that I can't even afford phone bills. Why would I have the mind to play games and borrow money? Boom. Anyway, I planned to return to writing. But then exams came up, and there were distractions like picking mulberries, etc., so my writing became intermittent. The main reason for the regular updates is basically like this. I dare not ask for forgiveness, but I hope everyone can understand. Being jobless and facing the disdain of relatives and neighbors at home is really tough and painful. Writing books doesn't bring in any income, and finding a job has been a series of failures. Coupled with the pressure of age, it has caused me immense mental stress, especially huge. Sometimes I think, even if I write, I won't have money to eat, so why bother writing? But I'm not willing to give up. Writing may not bring me food, but if I don't write, I definitely won't have money to eat. Advertisement writing books is my dream. I want to write books. As long as I can support myself, it's enough. Sometimes the more I think about it, the more depressed I become. Why can people with only a junior high school education succeed, but not me, a college graduate? After summarizing, I understand. Lazy, because the data is not good, I don't want to write. It's like being castrated. And that leads to even more laziness. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Self-abandonment. But I won't give up, I believe I will rise again. Mao Bao, can do it. I just realized it a bit late. Finally, I apologize and thank everyone again. Thank you to all the big shots who sent flowers, tickets, comments, and rewards to Mao Bao. It's because of you that Mao Bao regained confidence. At the same time, Mao Bao is shamelessly asking for subscriptions again. I don't ask for much, just a 3-digit number of initial subscriptions. If Mao Bao gets that, I will have the confidence to write 1 or even 2 million words. I won't write on behalf of others, I won't write randomly, and I absolutely won't cheat anyone out of a single penny. Please, I beg you. Also, there are about 70 chapters owed in updates, purely owed updates, not including any chapters that should have been updated based on data. Those owed chapters will be calculated later. I will make up for all the owed updates. This book will be released at 12 o'clock tonight. Please subscribe. If there are 3-digit subscriptions, I will start making up for the updates from the second day of the release. A minimum of 5 chapters will be updated every day, but please understand that my limit is around 10,000 words per day. 56. Make a deal with Sukuna to create the illusion of Itadori's death, kneeling for subscription. Shocked. Not only Fushiguro, even Sukuna, who is already tense, is also shocked. Looking at Fushiguro with an incredulous expression. Could it be his comrade? Was he deliberately arranged here to wait for me? No wonder he let me go so easily. He had set up an ambush here. In that case, this seemingly weak opponent in front of me must have hidden strength. There must be someone with the power to stop me from escaping who was arranged here. Damn it. I've been trapped. Seeing Fushiguro blocking the way, Sukuna is shocked and immediately regards Fushiguro as Bai Ye's hidden card. Get lost, brat, I don't have time to waste with you here. Sukuna scolds urgently. At the same time, he releases cursed energy to suppress Fushiguro. However, he doesn't attack easily, although this pressure makes it difficult for Fushiguro to resist, but this also makes Fushiguro notice something. Sukuna seems to be in a hurry. Why is that? Could it be because that special grade curse is so strong that even Sukuna can't handle it? Impossible. Sukuna is known as the king of curses. He definitely can deal with a newly born special grade. So, something extraordinary must have happened inside during this time, something that even Sukuna finds troublesome. Facing Sukuna, who is much stronger than himself, Fushiguro also carefully considers and doesn't act rashly. And while the two are wary of each other and hesitate to make a move, Bai Ye has already completed the retrieval of the fingers. After easily finding Sukuna, Bai Ye's mouth curls into a faint smile. We meet again. It's good this way, saves me the time to find another eyewitness. To create the illusion of Itadori's death, there must be a highly specialized person who directly witnesses it for it to be convincing. After muttering to himself, Bai Ye calmly walks out of the building, emitting no dangerous signals from his body. Then, like a gust of wind, he silently appears between the two. Although there is no pressure released, beads of sweat the size of beans appear on their foreheads, and their bodies are completely immobilized. They can't even hear a sound. Bai Ye carries a powerful aura. Who is this person? In Fukuro's mind, there was a sudden shock. Immediately, he thought of the person he had met that day. The person who suppressed Sukuna with one hand, the person whose name he still didn't know even though he knew Gojo-sensei. Watching Bai Ye's figure, Fukuro subconsciously swallowed his saliva. As strong as ever, is it because of him that Sukuna is in such a hurry to leave? Did Gojo-sensei send him over? Like Fukuro, Sukuna also became nervous unconsciously. The worst case scenario has happened. Is it a 2-on-1 situation? We've really been calculated? It seems that we've reached the point where we have to fight him. Sukuna showed a reluctantly smile, looking at Bai Ye who was getting closer, preparing to make a move. And Bai Ye always had a smile on his face, a smile that Sukuna couldn't understand. Sukuna, don't be so nervous. I'm in a good mood now, and Itadori won't be able to switch with you for a short time. Let's talk a little. Bai Ye said casually, but Sukuna didn't dare to relax at all. And Fukuro behind them was even more nervous. What are they talking about? Damn it. I can't hear anything, Bai Ye said with a voice that only he and Sukuna could hear. I'm really looking forward to fighting you at your peak. So you don't have to worry, I won't attack you in your current state. On the contrary, I will help you regain your strength, but I have one condition. Sukuna was skeptical, but he still intended to listen first. Oh, are you being so kind? What condition? Do you have the intention to negotiate? That makes things easier. With the initial negotiation taking effect, Bai Ye smiled lightly and continued. I want you to cooperate with me in staging a play and help me create the illusion of Itadori's death. As long as you agree, I will give you this finger. Bai Ye spoke while taking out the finger he had just obtained. What if I don't agree? What will you do? Like this, I will erase everything you have left in this world. Bai Ye gently broke off a section of the finger, and then used cursed energy to turn the broken section into powder. The finger that was claimed to be indestructible was easily destroyed by Bai Ye. Both of them were shocked at the same time. Not only was Fushiguro in disbelief, even Sukuna, who was always rebellious, couldn't believe it. Although unwilling, he had no choice. He believed that if he refused this person's proposal, he would truly be erased. This person has that kind of power. Moreover, he really challenged the person in front of him with his full strength. So he readily agreed, okay, I promise you, you made a wise choice. Bai Ye also showed a look of being able to teach Sukuna as he explained the play they were about to perform. Just when Fushiguro Megumi was worried because he couldn't hear any sound, he saw another shocking scene. The scene where Bai Ye handed the finger to Sukuna. He handed over the finger. What is he going to do? Did he reach some agreement with Sukuna? Wasn't he called by Gojo-sensei? Then what is his intention? Many questions arose in Fushiguro Megumi's mind, but he couldn't find any answers. However, there was one thing he was certain of. Considering the current situation, can we confirm that he is an enemy? Advertisement just then, the figure in front of him disappeared without a trace. Even though he was right in front of him, there was no trace of him. Only Fushiguro Megumi and Sukuna remained on the field. The pressure suddenly disappeared, but Fushiguro couldn't afford to relax even a bit. Because there was still a threat in front of him. And he had to take responsibility for Itadori. Even if he couldn't save Itadori, he had to take responsibility for exorcising Sukuna. What did you guys say just now? Did you make a deal? Although he knew the other party wouldn't answer him, Fushiguro couldn't help but ask. Who? Sukuna let out a breath. Don't worry, even if I made a deal with him, your position with me won't change. With Bai Ye's departure, Sukuna also breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Fushiguro Megumi with a sinister smile, ready to start the act. SSSHH. What are you doing? Fushiguro couldn't help but take a step back. Sukuna tore his coat apart, then raised his right hand and, to Fushiguro's shocked gaze, forcefully plunged it into his chest. Splat. Splat. Drip, 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 drip. With the sound of his right hand tearing through the chest, scorching red liquid gushed out. Stare. Fushiguro stared at Sukuna's actions, his eyes wide open. He couldn't believe it. When he pulled his hand out, Sukuna was already holding a still beating heart in his palm. The red liquid flowed all over the floor, but Sukuna said nonchalantly, I'm going to use this brat as a hostage. As a hostage? Fushiguro was a bit confused, and Sukuna explained, that's right, because I can still live without a heart, but this brat is different. While speaking, Sukuna threw the heart, which had already stopped beating, on the ground like trash. Then he continued to explain, if he replaces me, it's equivalent to death. And then, I'll add another insurance. With a cold smile, Sukuna looked at Fushiguro and swallowed the finger he obtained from Bai Ye. Now I'm finally free. Now you can start being afraid. I'm going to kill you, for no reason. As Sukuna spoke, he moved his fingers, although all of this was part of the deal with Bai Ye. But being able to move his body gave him a lot of motivation. So, let me see what's so different about this brat that you said would bring me a decent reward. While Sukuna muttered softly, Fushiguro also carefully observed him. Even if he dies, he'll come back. That's the kind of person he is. Fushiguro firmly believed in this. However, Sukuna didn't care. You think too highly of him. This guy is just a little sturdier and slower than others. Just now, you were trembling in fear of death and talking big. I can assert that he doesn't have the courage to die willingly. Sukuna deliberately spoke to provoke Fushiguro, eager for a thrilling battle. There was no opportunity to challenge Bai Ye, so being able to fight against a demon favored by Bai Ye was also a kind of enjoyment. Fushiguro was not angered, but was calculating in his heart. My hand has already healed. It seems he will use reversal techniques. After Sukuna obtains a physical body, even without a heart, he can still live, but he should still be injured. I must make sure his heart is healed before Itadori returns. I must make him believe that a body without a heart cannot defeat me. Can I do it? Facing someone who can't even move against a special grade like me. Thinking this, Fushiguro's hands were trembling, and he was also doubtful about whether he could do it. He quickly became determined. This is not a matter of whether I can do it or not, it is a must. While making up his mind, Fushiguro formed hand seals and summoned the Shikigami, Nu, from the shadows. At the same time, he actively engaged in close combat. However, his attacks couldn't even touch Sukuna. This made Fushiguro's subsequent attacks more and more impatient. In contrast to Fushiguro's anxiety, Sukuna appeared quite relaxed and enjoying himself. Come on, give me more, it's not enough, bring out your cursed power. Orochi. Seizing the opportunity when Sukuna threw him off, Fushiguro summoned the Shikigami, Orochi, to bite Sukuna, while also commanding Mahito to launch an attack together. However, with a tearing sound, the snake that bit Sukuna was easily defeated. Blood rain fell from the sky. Fushiguro, standing in the blood rain, was instantly stunned. Didn't I tell you? Let go and fight. Before he could react, someone appeared behind him, grabbed his clothes, and threw him forcefully into the sky. The speed is unusually fast, however, Sukuna's speed is faster than the speed at which he was thrown out. Before he could stabilize his posture, the attacks came one after another. Completely at a disadvantage, only after truly engaging in combat did Fushiguro realize the difference between the two. It's not just a matter of jujutsu skill. Both strength and speed cannot be compared. Bang! With a loud impact, Fushiguro's Shikigami, Nu, was knocked to the ground. Nu has reached its limit, collapsed in the ruins. Fushiguro's mood became extremely solemn. In order to escape from the domain of the living, he had already used all of his Shikigami. Advertisement: both Tamao and Orochi have been destroyed, and I no longer have any curse power left. I can't understand. If he wanted to kill us, why did he help us before? Why didn't he just let a special grade curse kill us all? Fushiguro roared angrily in his heart towards Bai Ye. I understand. He's our enemy. He must be enjoying this, right? Maybe he's watching us from somewhere. He gave us hope, and then pushed us into despair. How despicable. While Fushiguro harbored resentment in his heart, after this confrontation, Yuji began to have some clues about Bai Ye's words. I see, your Shikigami uses shadows as a medium, right? Although he asked a question, Yuji didn't wait for Fushiguro's answer and continued, what a waste. Anyway, I won't heal your heart with this level of attack. He saw through it all. Fushiguro thought to himself. You're so desperate for something so boring, this brat isn't worth your effort. Fushiguro treated Sukuna's sermon as if it were nothing. After releasing Nu, he staggered to his feet. Although his eyes were fixed ahead, his mind was filled with thoughts of his sister, Fushiguro Sumiki. Open black lens bracket. She is an unquestionably good person, someone more deserving of happiness than anyone else. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Nevertheless, Sumiki was still cursed. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Even my father, who named me Megumi without even knowing my gender, I don't know where he shamelessly lives now. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Karma does not automatically occur. Wicked people must face retribution. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. And a Jujutsu sorcerer is one of the gears in this karmic cycle. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. In order for more good people to enjoy equality, I will save others unequally. Close black lens bracket. While her inner thoughts were in motion, Fushiguro slowly assumed a stance, and her gaze became resolute. Sizzle. Accompanied by a faint sound emitted by a slight curse power, Sukuna keenly felt a pressure. However, it did not make him fearful, instead, it stimulated his nerves. The exhilarating battle was summoning him, so that's it. So that's how it is. I finally understand completely, that's what it means. Only at this moment did Itadori fully comprehend Bai Ye's words. Ha ha ha. Very good, very good. No wonder he had such high expectations for you, little brat. Let me enjoy this thoroughly. Your life is about to ignite. In that case, let me try to captivate you, Fushiguro Megumi. While Sukuna spoke, he couldn't help but take steps towards Fushiguro, his excitement unusually active. And Fushiguro successfully completed the seal. Buru Uraira, Hachigama. When the incantation reached this point, Fushiguro suddenly remembered that there were still some words he hadn't said to Itadori. Open black lens bracket. If I don't say it now, I'll never have the chance to tell him. Close black lens bracket. Based on this thought, Fushiguro stopped. Then, regardless of whether Itadori could hear him or not, he said to himself, Itadori. The reason I saved you had no rational consideration. Even if there was danger, I didn't want to see a good person like you die. Although I was also confused, in the end, I let my emotions guide me. But that's okay. After saying these words, Fushiguro's expression relaxed. I'm not a righteous partner, but a Jujutsu sorcerer. So, saving you, I have never regretted it, not even once. At the end, Fushiguro's face revealed a smile of, no regrets. Itadori, who didn't know when he regained consciousness, happened to hear Fushiguro's words. He understood the meaning behind Fushiguro suddenly saying these words. Then he successfully switched with Sukuna. He put on a relaxed expression and smiled, saying, I see. Fushiguro, you are indeed very clever, much more thorough than I had considered. What you believe should be right, but I don't think I am wrong either. When Itadori said this and switched with Sukuna, the impact of not having a heart followed. Blood continued to gush out from the wound. His body gradually lost balance. Ah, sorry, it's about time. Fushiguro, Itadori, Gojo-sensei. I don't think I need to worry about them. You guys better live longer. Itadori's voice grew weaker and weaker, his life force gradually fading, his body uncontrollably falling forward. With a thud, accompanied by a drizzle, Itadori fell to the ground, dead. On a rooftop not far away, although standing in the rain, Bai Ye's mouth curved into a faint smile, unaffected by the rain. Looking at Fushiguro standing in the rain, Bai Ye murmured softly, I suppose it was a success. I didn't expect Sukuna to cooperate so well, and his acting was convincing. The next step is with Go. Thinking of Gojo Satoru, Bai Ye began to have a headache. Should I tell him the truth? No, forget it. That guy's acting is not very reassuring. Muttering like this, Bai Ye decided to leave this place. Glancing at the time, he suddenly panicked. Oh no, is it already this late? Oh crap. Rico must be angry by now. We promised to come home early today. The image of Rico raging had already appeared in Bai Ye's mind. I have to hurry back. With this decision, Bai Ye completely lost the composure he had when facing Sukuna and hurriedly rushed back. It seems that an angry Rico is the most frightening. 57 miscalculated brains, encountering Bai Ye's group of 4, subscribe. The news of Itadori's death quickly reached Gojo Satoru's ears. Without delay, after completing the task assigned by Bai Ye, he hurried back. Although he didn't believe the rumors of Itadori's death, seeing the facts before him, he had no choice but to believe. How could something like this happen? Isn't Bai Ye-sensei there? How could such a situation occur? Could it be Bai Ye-sensei? No, it's absolutely impossible for Bai Ye-sensei to stand by and let Itadori die like this. I believe in Bai Ye-sensei. Itadori is someone he personally chose, the one he wanted to cultivate into an excellent Jujutsu sorcerer. Gojo Satoru pondered all the possibilities in his mind. However, no matter how he thought about it, he couldn't help but feel that Itadori wouldn't die with Bai Ye around. In that case, there's only one possibility. Gojo Satoru's expression became unusually certain. Bai Ye-sensei has his own plan. Itadori's death. There must be another hidden reason. And Bai Ye-sensei intentionally didn't tell me about this. It's highly likely that this is a test from Bai Ye-sensei to me. He wants me to rely on my own strength to find out the truth. With this in mind, Gojo Satoru couldn't help but fall into deep contemplation. If Bai Ye could know what Gojo Satoru was thinking right now, he would definitely sarcastically say, "You're overthinking." However, even though Gojo Satoru could make such an inference, he couldn't figure out why Itadori had died. It seems I can only go and ask Bai Ye-sensei to clarify. Even if this is a test from Bai Ye-sensei, I can only give up. On the other side, Bai Ye arrived at a fast coffee shop based on the information provided by Satoru. He casually ordered a cup of coffee and began to enjoy it. By the way, it's been a while since Satoru came back, hasn't it? He actually didn't rush over to find me after learning about Itadori's death. It seems he has really grown more stable. Bai Ye muttered thoughtfully. Perhaps he has already guessed the intention behind it, but it's not certain. While Bai Ye was enjoying his coffee, the person he was waiting for appeared at the intersection. Possessed by a brainflower, Xia Youjie walked towards Bai Ye with 3 special-grade curses. Hey, what's going on? During a break in the traffic lights, Lu Hu, with a small volcano on his head and a cane, asked Xia Youjie, is it really necessary to use a valuable finger to confirm Sukuna's strength? Ha! Xia Youjie chuckled lightly, it's meaningless to rely solely on speculation. Advertisement, and I have gained something in return. However, Lu Hu didn't buy his explanation and snorted, HMPH, I hope this isn't just your excuse. Poof. At #% at. Todoroki and Hanami behind them also voiced their thoughts. Although they couldn't understand what Hanami was saying, the meaning he wanted to convey could directly enter others' minds. Regarding this, Lu Hu was very annoyed. The small volcano on his head erupted instantly, shouting, don't speak. I can't understand a word, but the content goes straight into my head, it's really uncomfortable. Amidst the argument, the green light came on, and Xia Youjie led the way forward. And it was at this moment, a lightning bolt suddenly flashed through his mind. A sense of foreboding also rose in his heart. His gaze lowered slightly, he put away the smile on his face, and Xia Youjie began to ponder. What's happening today? Why'd I have a bad feeling? There shouldn't be any problems. Everything is going according to plan. The only uncertain factor is that mysterious guy. I can't figure out his background. I can't approach him recklessly either, or there will be a risk of being killed. Thinking about Bai Ye, now Xia Youjie's body developed uncontrollably. That was a kind of terror that was engraved and couldn't be erased. Luo Hu and the others didn't notice Xia Youjie's changes and continued walking forward. Soon, they arrived at the coffee shop where Bai Ye was. They didn't notice Bai Ye sitting in the corner. After they sat down, they began their conversation. So, how can we defeat the Jujutsu master? Before the war starts, as long as we can meet 2 conditions. Xia Youjie paused and changed his words. No, as long as we can meet the following 3 conditions, we can win. What are the 3 conditions? First, we need to make Gojo Satoru, the so-called strongest Jujutsu master, unable to fight. Second, we need to bring Ryomen Sukuna and Itadori Yuji on board. Huh? Luo Hu tilted his head in confusion. Wait, isn't Itadori Yuji dead? Xia Youjie grinned. Well, who knows? Luo Hu looked at Xia Youjie with suspicion and instinctively asked, what about the 3rd condition? Xia Youjie could only smile bitterly and said, as long as that person doesn't interfere. Please give flowers. That person? Who is it? A small volcano erupted on Luo Hu's head. Advertisement, I'm still investigating, Xia Youjie sighed. Are you saying that even you can't do anything about that person? Luo Hu's question plunged the conversation into silence. Then he changed the topic again and said, Gojo Satoru. Can we attack him together and kill him? He will easily escape. What's worse is that he might exorcise all of you. So instead of killing him, I suggest you find a way to seal him. Seal him? Is there a way? Use the special grade cursed object, prison gate boundary? Upon hearing this word, Luo Hu immediately became excited, and a small volcano seemed to erupt on top of his head, causing the temperature in the entire coffee shop to rise instantly. Yumanjiang. Oh, that forbidden thing. Do you have it in your hands? Unlike the excited Luo Hu, Xia Youjie remained calm. However, at this moment, a strong sense of discord suddenly rose from the depths of their hearts. Accompanying this sense of discord was a slightly impatient voice. Hey, you, the curse over there, don't get too cocky. Bai Ye put down the coffee in his hand and said softly without looking up. Although Bai Ye's voice was soft, it landed on Xia Youjie's ears like a thunderous clap. He turned his head in disbelief and looked towards the corner, where a blurry figure sat, but it exuded an overwhelming pressure. His pupils contracted. Horror. How is this possible? With difficulty swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Xia Youjie suddenly stood up. When did he? Why didn't I notice anything at all? Luo Hu, sitting across from Xia Youjie, had an even more astonished expression. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead, and the small volcano on his head erupted uncontrollably. A strong sense of fear arose from the depths of their hearts. What's going on? My body can't move. Hanao and Tora also felt the same as Luo Hu. Their hearts were completely dominated by fear. The temperature in the entire coffee shop gradually rose as Luo Hu couldn't control the eruption on his head, reaching a level that could harm ordinary people. At this moment, Bai Ye also stood up from his seat and walked to Luo Hu's side under Xia Youjie's horrified gaze. He firmly pressed down on the erupting small volcano and said coldly, If you don't want this small volcano, I can help you get rid of it. 58 The bloody four-person group, forced to make a deal, seeking subscription. Crack. Bai Ye exerted a slight force on his hand, and the small Mount Fuji on Luo Hu's head was instantly crushed, with blood splattering everywhere. Allowing the scalding liquid to flow into his own single eye, Luo Hu couldn't make any resistance. It's not that he didn't want to resist, but he simply couldn't. Escape. While you, Tuo. Hurry and escape. Escape was the only thought in Luo Hu's mind right now. He really wanted to remind Hua Yu and Tuo Gan, who were sitting next to him, to escape, but he couldn't make a sound. Fear permeated his heart. This was the first time he felt so powerless since his birth. The powerful magic power and astonishing recovery ability that he had always believed in were all shattered in front of this person. Xia Youjie, who was parasitized by the brain flower, also showed a panicked expression on his face. The feeling of everything being out of control made him feel at a loss. The situation here was also seen by the other people in the coffee shop, and they all looked at it with surprise. Some people whispered, 843, to their companions. The eerie and terrifying atmosphere was also noticed by the shop staff, and one of them was so scared that they quit on the spot. If you get close to that table, you will die. Such thoughts lingered in everyone's mind. Gurgle. The shop owner with a goatee struggled to swallow his saliva, gathered his courage, and asked Bai Ye with a trembling voice, then. What can I do for you? May I help you with anything? Upon hearing the shop owner's voice, Bai Ye slightly turned his head and calmly glanced at him. Although it was just an ordinary glance, it made the shop owner tremble from head to toe, his hair standing on end, and even made an embarrassing sound. Bai Ye didn't answer immediately, but just calmly looked at him like that. Although it was only a few seconds of silence, it gave people the feeling as if a century had passed. Especially Xia Youjie. Even though he could still move, he didn't dare to blink his eyes, staring at Bai Ye intently. Who? Bai Ye sighed helplessly. Cool down. Then he used Jujutsu, curse words, to stabilize the temperature inside the coffee shop. The people, who were already sweating profusely and feeling restless, finally felt a bit more comfortable. However, the atmosphere in front of them remained just as terrifying. Advertisement, excuse us, we'll leave now. Bai Ye didn't want to start a fight here to avoid harming the innocent. After saying this to the shop manager, he dragged the immobile Luo Hu and walked towards the door. When Bai Ye walked out of the shop door, Hanao and Toraishi finally took a breath. Sweat the size of beans kept pouring out as if it had been released. Although they were equally terrified, they immediately followed after they regained their ability to move. But when they came out, Bai Ye's figure was no longer at the door. At #%. Poo. The two of them spoke in words that no one could understand, then they looked at each other and nodded resolutely. Then they quickly chased after the residuals intentionally left behind by Bai Ye. And Xia Youjie, after hesitating for a moment, also immediately followed. This might be the only chance to find out his identity. Jujutsu High Specialist. After listening to the report from Assistant Supervisor Eiichi Kiyotaka, Gojo Satoru sorted out his thoughts. First, Teacher Bai Ye definitely won't betray us, he is trustworthy. Second, the higher-ups at Jujutsu High still haven't given up on erasing Itadori, so this mission is intentional. Third, anyway, I'm really angry right now. Fourth, if I don't do something, Teacher Bai Ye might get angry, and this might also be Teacher Bai Ye's way of testing me. Looking at the cautious Eiichi Kiyotaka standing in front of him, Gojo spoke with a hint of anger. Is this intentional? Huh? Are you referring to me? Eiichi trembled. Facing a special grade and having to rescue 5 missing personnel, they actually sent a first-year student. This is outrageous. Gojo Satoru was completely venting his frustration on Eiichi. I have a terrible personality, you know. I know, Eiichi muttered quietly. Eiichi, get ready to be slapped. Wait, slapped. Gojo Satoru's words made the already cautious Eiichi stand even more respectfully. Weak, helpless, trembling. But Gojo Satoru was just saying it and didn't actually do it. He continued against the wall, saying, I'm not cut out for the city. Although I've tried my best to catch up with Teacher Bai Ye, I'm still far behind. But why am I still teaching at the college? Ask me. Although there was no threatening tone in Gojo Satoru's voice, Eiichi Kiyotaka still trembled and asked in a trembling voice, why? Because I have a dream. Gojo Satoru seemed to be lost in memories and repeated the words Bai Ye had said to him back then. Advertisement also at the college. Fushiguro Megumi and Kugisaki Nobara sat on the stairs with a negative atmosphere. He told others to live longer, but he died first. He's really convenient. After complaining with a pretended calmness, Kugisaki turned to Fushiguro, who was sitting not far away, and asked, is this your first experience of a comrade's death? Fushiguro, whose emotions were hard to discern, replied in his usual voice, for someone of the same generation, yes. Huh. You seem pretty calm. You too. Of course, I only knew him for 2 weeks. Kugisaki intentionally raised her voice to make herself appear as she described. I'm not that fragile to shed tears just because of a man like him. However, tears still couldn't help but fall. Damn it. When Gao Zhuan was still immersed in sorrow and silence, the battle between Bai Ye, Qing Hu, Hua Yu, Fang Chong, and Chang Youjie had already come to an end. Hua Yu and Tuogan were on the verge of death. However, Bai Ye did not directly exorcise them, but made a deal with them, allowing them to leave after the contract was over. Naturally, Bai Ye did not have any pity for the curse, but had another purpose, to make them experience treasures. To become stepping stones on Itadori and Fushimi's path of growth. Chang Youjie escaped with serious injuries. Among the 4, he was the only one who managed to escape based on his own strength. Bai Ye was not surprised by Chang Youjie's escape. After all, he was an ancient relic who had lived for thousands of years. It was not impossible for him to have some means of self-preservation. Impressive, someone who can stir up the storm in the Jujutsu world. After sighing softly, Bai Ye shifted his gaze to Luo Hu. Because Luo Hu had been imprisoned by Bai Ye all this time, he did not have the opportunity to fight day and night. But even so, he, who had been watching from the sidelines, felt a tremendous shock. Not only was he able to fight against the 3 of them effortlessly, but he also constantly used cursed energy to imprison himself. This is a monster, even more like a curse than a curse. It's like a collection of cursed energy. Jujutsu techniques are so abundant that it's dazzling. That cursed energy, which felt like a tangible substance, stung every part of his body. Luo Hu was drenched in cold sweat. Although he couldn't see Bai Ye's face, he knew that the other party must be smiling. However, after witnessing the previous battle, his determination grew stronger. If I can exchange 1 life for 2, then let me die. At least Hua Yu and Tuogan survived. Moreover, 100 years from now, it doesn't have to be me standing on this earth. Just as Luo Hu was prepared to bravely sacrifice himself, Bai Ye spoke. Luo Hu, let's make a deal. 59 raid on Gojo Satoru, Itadori resurrected, subscribe. To the surprise of Lu Hu, Bai Ye did not dispel his thoughts. Deal? Lu Hu couldn't understand the person in front of him. He could easily dispel them, so why would he make a deal with him? Could it be that he is not on the side of the old humans? This thought emerged in Lu Hu's mind. What kind of deal? Bai Ye smiled slightly. I want you to attack Gojo Satoru. Lu Hu thought he had misheard and instinctively asked, attack Gojo Satoru? That's right. Bai Ye nodded and continued, based on your current strength. It's estimated to be roughly equivalent to 8 or 9 fingers of Sukuna's power. Strength equivalent to 8 or 9 fingers of Sukuna? Lu Hu's mouth twitched with a bitter smile. Even if he had the strength of 8 or 9 fingers, what difference would it make in the hands of this person? But he was willing to accept this deal. Maybe I can take this opportunity to kill Gojo Satoru. With the prison realm, I can stay and deal with you. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I agree to your terms. Lu Hu readily agreed to Bai Ye, and after the binding was over, Bai Ye let him go. Then Bai Ye went straight to Kaozuan and sent a text message to Wu Tu Wu. Kaozuan. Gojo Satoru, who was talking nonsense with a serious face, received a text message from Bai Ye. After reading the text message, he still had some doubts about what Bai Ye said, but soon he completely understood. Just as he lifted his head, he saw Itadori, who should have already cooled down, sitting up. Just as Ieri Shoko was about to dissect Itadori. Following the agreement with Bai Ye, Sukuna fulfilled his promise. After a brief moment of confusion, Gojo Satoru felt a little excited. Bai Ye-sensei is really amazing, to come up with a plan like creating a false impression of Itadori's death. If the higher-ups knew the truth, they would probably be furious. Advertisement. Right. According to what Bai Ye-sensei said, it's my turn to perform next. Following Bai Ye's instructions, Gojo Satoru began his act. On a staircase in the high-grade section, as tears uncontrollably welled up in Yagoro's eyes, Fushiguro couldn't help but feel a bit emotional. To cover up his vulnerability, Fushiguro muttered, "It's so hot." "Yeah, sweat is getting into my eyes." Yagoro rubbed his eyes and changed the subject. "Is the summer outfit not ready yet?" Listening to the chirping of cicadas in the woods, both of them fell into a moment of silence. Soon after, Zenin Maki returned from a mission. Seeing Fushiguro sitting on the stairs with a gloomy face, she walked up and spoke in the tone of a senior and a cousin. "What's going on? Your face looks even worse than usual. Hey. Are you mourning for someone, completely acting like a senior scolding a junior?" Zenin Senpei, Fushiguro showed little emotional fluctuation. "Don't use my last name to address me." Maki grumbled discontentedly, slightly tilting her head up and looking down at him. Maki. The panda and the dog, Maki and Koro, nervously shouted from behind a stone lion. Hearing the voice behind her, Maki turned around with a displeased expression and said, "I was talking." "Do you not know why they look like that?" Koro asked anxiously. "Huh? What do you mean?" Maki replied. "One of the first creators really died yesterday," the panda said nervously and awkwardly. "Mokayuka." Koro, who was also hiding nearby, echoed in his own unique way. A thunderbolt struck Maki's mind. Instantly, she felt extremely embarrassed, and her body became unusually stiff and mechanical. "You should have told me earlier." At the same time, Maki's seniority was instantly broken. Pointing at the panda and Koro, she angrily shouted, "So now I'll be seen as a heartless devil, right? That's how you were perceived in the first place, right?" Meguro Tamago Mayo. For a while, the three of them argued incessantly. Advertisement Fukase, feeling a bit disgusted, looked at them and asked Fukuro, "Who are they?" Fukuro, who was asked, also showed a disgusted expression but still introduced them one by one to Fukase. After the introductions were done, the panda, as a representative, explained their purpose. "A sister school exchange event with Kyoto?" Fukase looked puzzled. "What is that?" Sigh. Fukuro sighed and explained, "It's an exchange event organized by another vocational school in Kyoto." "But isn't that mainly for students in grades 2 and 3? Because the useless students in grade 3 are still suspended, and there aren't enough people, so you guys have to participate too." Zenin Maki continued with a confident expression, "You guys will participate, right? After all, a comrade just died." "Participate. X2. Nailsaki and Fushiro both said in unison. "I want to become stronger, and I'm willing to pay any price for it, X2. This firm belief appeared in the minds of the two. That guy can't be judged by common sense at all. Natsuo, who narrowly escaped death, hid in a secluded place to heal. Recalling the battle with Bai Ye, Natsuo couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. His cursed power is the most I've ever seen. Even Jujutsu too, not just one kind of Jujutsu. Just from what I've encountered, there's cursed speech, manipulation of red blood, and cursed spirit manipulation technique. Not only that, there are at least several other Jujutsu used on Hanami and the others. How can he use so many Jujutsu? He's simply a monster who has gathered the best of 100 schools." Natsuo, with a serious expression, suddenly relaxed and muttered to himself with a bitter smile, "I finally understand the reason why this body reacts so excitedly to that person. He's just too strong. His strength is probably even above Gojo Satoru's. If we don't deal with him, it will have an irreversible impact on my plan." Natsuo took out a square object from his pocket and said with a gloomy expression, "You and Gojo Satoru must seal one as soon as possible." 60 Gojo Satoru. Teacher Bai Ye standing in the atmosphere, seeking subscription. Inside Itadori's body, Sukuna lazily sits in his own domain, a hint of anticipation in the corner of his mouth, muttering to himself in the air. You're right, as expected. Soon, I'll be able to see something interesting. The image of Fushiguro appears in Sukuna's mind. Although I'm interested in fighting that thing, I still want to see how strong you really are. Sukuna is very curious about Bai Ye's strength. In my prime, I wonder if I can fight against you. Confidence fills his tone. After completing the task assigned by Bai Ye, Gojo Satoru finds Bai Ye based on the information provided by Bai Ye. Teacher Bai Ye. Gojo Satoru greets him proactively, with a look of wanting to say something but holding back. It's you, Satoru. Bai Ye leans against a tree trunk and says with a meaningful look. Do you understand the intention behind my actions? Well. Gojo Satoru rubs his head and says somewhat awkwardly, although I understand the general idea, there are still many parts that I don't quite understand. Well, with Bai Ye's talent, there are probably things I can't even think of no matter how hard I try. Seeing Gojo Satoru's sincere and polite expression despite his awkwardness, Bai Ye lets out a sigh. Sigh, he must have thought about it seriously too. It's not his fault if there are things he doesn't understand. After all, Gojo Satoru is not him. What are your doubts? Bai Ye is ready to answer all of Gojo Satoru's questions. And Gojo Satoru, without hesitation, quickly expresses all of his doubts after Bai Ye's inquiry. After listening to Gojo Satoru's words, Bai Ye nodded lightly. The problem is basically as he expected. Then let me answer your questions for you, Bai Ye said, sitting directly on the ground and setting up a barrier within a few miles with a wave of his hand. After confirming the safety of the surroundings, Bai Ye continued, first of all, regarding the matter of finding Akatsu Yuta, I think you should already have an answer in your heart, just not certain. Gojo Satoru sat respectfully in front of Bai Ye, nodding like a pecking chicken. Akatsu Yuta has experiences similar to Itadori's. If it's him, he should be able to understand Itadori. And his strength is the strongest among them, so just in case, he is the first choice to take over your position. Advertisement. Bai Ye paused intentionally and observed Gojo's reaction to his words. Take over my position? As expected, Gojo Satoru was still puzzled. Didn't I mention it? In the future generations, it cannot be measured by special grade alone. Jujutsu has been passed down until now, and who knows how many unpredictable relics from the old era are left. Among them, there may be something that can defeat or seal the two of us. Is there really something that can defeat Teacher Bai Ye? Gojo Satoru muttered in his heart. If such a situation really occurs, but there is no contingency plan in place, no designated successor for the two of us, a great disaster will happen. Bai Ye paused again, giving Gojo Satoru time to digest the information. Gojo Satoru clearly understood, but seemed to only partially grasp it. So this is the reason why Teacher Bai Ye chose to send Akatsu abroad? Not only that, Bai Ye said in a deep voice, just today, I encountered 4 special grade curses. And they all have the strength of 8 to 9 Sukuna fingers. What? Gojo Satoru was instantly shocked. 4 special grade curses appearing at once, and their strength is not low. It should be noted that there are currently only 16 confirmed special grade curses. But now suddenly 4 have appeared. What does this mean? It doesn't need Bai Ye to explain, he also knows that times have changed. It has become just as Bai Ye said, special grade is no longer an appropriate description. Gojo Satoru looked up at Bai Ye with a serious expression, as if confirming something. Open black lens bracket. There are no traces of injury on Teacher Bai Ye. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. It seems like they were completely exorcised by Teacher Bai Ye. Close black lens bracket. So, Teacher Bai Ye has exorcised them already. It's hard to say whether encountering Teacher Bai Ye is lucky or unlucky. If it were me, I might have gotten into trouble. Teacher Bai Ye is really. Just as Gojo Satoru was about to flatter, Bai Ye interrupted. No, I didn't exorcise them. Although I severely injured them, they managed to escape in the end. Bai Ye said seriously, telling a lie. What, Teacher Bai Ye, please don't joke. Gojo Satoru felt the atmosphere becoming increasingly serious from Bai Ye and tried to liven it up with a laugh. But he was mercilessly interrupted by Bai Ye. I'm not joking. And I also learned from them that they will come after you soon. Bai Ye looked deeply at Gojo Satoru, who was starting to believe his lie, and then warned, so you should be careful in the near future. Advertisement. Although I have great faith in your abilities, being careless is never good. Yes, I understand, Master, I will be cautious. Gojo Satoru raised his voice and replied. Open black lens bracket. Teacher Bai Ye is truly a prophet. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. To have foreseen the impending danger and sent me to communicate with Akatsu. Close black lens bracket. The second point, Itadori's death was arranged by me. I didn't tell you so that the illusion of Itadori's death would be more convincing. While Bai Ye was speaking, he glanced at Gojo Satoru's reaction. Although he didn't explicitly say that he was afraid Gojo Satoru's acting skills were terrible, he could clearly sense Gojo Satoru's disappointment. Smart Gojo Satoru also realized this, but after a brief disappointment, he regained his spirits. Open black lens bracket. Teacher Bai Ye is right. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. It's just that my acting skills are not good. Close black lens bracket. So, what does Teacher Bai Ye plan to do now? Just keep hiding Itadori? No, we will let him return to school before the exchange event. Bai Ye smiled slightly and continued, it is unforgivable to take away a young person's youth. Young people should participate in the exchange event, where they can sweat and enjoy their youth. I don't want to be an old-fashioned person who lacks humor. Yes, you're right. Gojo Satoru quickly agreed and felt ashamed of his previous question. Open black lens bracket. That was the viewpoint mentioned by Teacher Bai Ye. How could you forget? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. After going home, copy Teacher Bai Ye's teachings 500 times to apologize. Close black lens bracket. Seeing Gojo Satoru's expression, Bai Ye smiled and shook his head, then continued, creating the illusion of Itadori's death has two other purposes. Oh. Open black lens bracket. There are two other purposes? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. So you're saying that I only guessed Bai Ye's first and most obvious intention? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. I only saw Bai Ye's first intention. But Bai Ye is standing on the third level. No, Bai Ye has always been standing in the stratosphere. Close black lens bracket. In Gojo Satoru's surprised expression, Bai Ye explained, firstly, I hope that during this period leading up to the exchange meeting, Itadori will be under your guidance. To help him grow to the special grade level before the age of unrest arrives. Is that possible? Special grade? Gojo Satoru seemed a bit doubtful. Itadori himself has a strong physical constitution, and now that he has become Sukuna's vessel, with just a little guidance, he can quickly grow. Bai Ye patted Gojo Satoru's shoulder. With Bai Ye's encouragement, Gojo Satoru instantly became confident. Leave it to me. Bai Ye nodded and continued, secondly, it is an opportunity to strengthen the bonds between the first-year students. So that's how it is. Gojo Satoru remembered Bai Ye's previous teachings and said excitedly, strong bonds can sometimes give people hope to survive in critical moments of life. Am I remembering correctly, Bai Ye? 61A date for 2-3 people reunited. Please subscribe. In the future, we should consider everything that Teacher Bai Ye does from multiple perspectives. After bidding farewell to Bai Ye, Gojo Satoru walked while taking out his notebook and earnestly wrote this sentence at the end of today's conversation. After finishing writing, he went over it again in his mind before satisfactorily putting the notebook in his pocket and striding towards the high school. In the following days, according to Bai Ye's instructions, Gojo Satoru began to train Itadori, giving detailed guidance on how to use cursed energy. And then, he reported the results to Bai Ye every day. Fushiguro and Kugisaki also worked hard to prepare for the exchange event under the guidance of their senior classmates. For some reason, there were hardly any curses of grade 2 or higher appearing these days, and Bai Ye also took advantage of this rare opportunity to have a few days off. Today happened to be the weekend, and Riko had 2 days off. Originally, it was a rare time for the two of them to be alone together, but Riko seemed a bit melancholic. Ah, Bai Ye, can't you stop staying at home all day? Not sure if she was tired of seeing Bai Ye doing nothing, Riko complained. Riko doesn't want me to stay at home? Do you find me annoying? Bai Ye was a little nervous, a feeling he had never experienced even when facing Sukuna. He quickly sat up and asked seriously. Could it be? Riko, does she have someone she likes? If that's the case, it wouldn't be strange for her not to want to live in the same house as her older brother. Just the thought of Riko possibly moving out makes me feel a bit lonely, but I should support Riko, right? While Bai Ye was lost in his thoughts, Riko quickly explained, no way. I like. Note. The translation ends abruptly here, as the text provided is incomplete. Riko spoke loudly, but her voice suddenly turned into a scolding tone. I definitely don't hate brother Bai Ye, she whispered so softly that only she could hear. Then she quickly turned around, only showing Bai Ye a side profile, while grabbing a pillow next to her to cover her slightly flushed cheeks, revealing only a pair of slightly anxious eyes as she secretly glanced at Bai Ye. Mumbling under the pillow, she said, of course, I hope brother can spend more time with me at home, but after all, brother Bai Ye is already at that age. If you stay at home all the time, how will you find a girlfriend? Upon hearing Riko's muttering, Bai Ye smiled and reached out to pat Riko's head. Advertisement, what's that? So you're worried about me, he said. No need to worry. Riko interrupted Bai Ye before he could finish his sentence. I'm definitely not worried about you, don't be so presumptuous. I'm just afraid that you'll fool around and cause trouble, then secretly run away, leaving me to deal with the mess. Bai Ye said with a wry smile. That won't happen, Bai Ye said. However, Riko had already entered her own imagination time and didn't listen to Bai Ye's advice at all, continuing to indulge in her own delusions of being persecuted. Several women came to the house with children and told me that they were all your children. Then they beat me up as a punching bag and chased me away in a disheveled state. Sigh. Bai Ye didn't know what to say and could only sigh inwardly. Riko, how about we go out for a walk? He suggested. It's such a nice weather, it's a waste to stay at home all the time. Unable to think of any comforting words, Bai Ye could only resort to this cliché and cheesy method to make Riko feel at ease. Just the two of us? Riko peeked out from under the pillow, asking with a hint of anticipation. Just the two of us then. Where are we going? Are we leaving now? Let me change my clothes first. In an instant, Riko's emotions soared, and she dropped the pillow and rushed to her own room. Exhale. Seeing that the method was effective, Bai Ye finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although it's cliché and cheesy, it does work, inside the room. After closing the door, Riko didn't immediately change her clothes. Instead, she pounced onto the bed, burying her head in the soft pillow and rubbing it vigorously. Her feet happily swung up and down. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. This is a date, right? Definitely a date. Advertisement. At the same time, in an old residential area, after receiving treatment at the factory, Xia Youjie finally recovered from his injuries. He carefully returned to their temporary base camp, only to find Hua Yu, who had shrunk to half his size, and the chaotic domain of Tora also present. Xia Yu, you finally came back, I was really worried. I thought you were done for. Just as he entered, a real person with a harmonious aura greeted him. Exhale. Luckily, I managed to save my life. After replying to the real person, Xia Youjie looked at Hua Yu and Tora, who were still healing, and asked, what about you guys? How did you escape from that person? Blah blah blah. At %. After listening to the excited answers from the two, Xia Yu's expression became a bit grim. I see. What about Ruhu? Why didn't you see him? Blah blah blah. At %. Xia Youjie's expression became even more grim. What? He went to challenge Gojo Satoru. Upon hearing this news, Xia Youjie fell silent. What is that person planning? Instead of exercising them, he made a deal with Ruhu and the others, albeit forcibly. I can't understand him at all. An incomprehensible guy. And he will definitely bring me a lot of trouble. I need to find a way to restrict his actions. While Xia Youjie was contemplating in his heart, his hand involuntarily reached for the item he had prepared for Gojo Satoru, the prison realm boundary. 62 Lehu who feels good, Bai Ye who watches dramas under the guidance of Gojo Satoru, Itadori began a fulfilling daily life. Itadori's schedule was arranged to include watching movies to exercise his ability to use cursed power in various emotional states. After informing Itadori, Gojo Satoru got into Eiichi Kiyotaka's car. The car sped forward. Soon, they approached their destination. At this moment, Eiichi Kiyotaka, who had been silent all along, spoke up. We still have some time before the scheduled meeting with the principal. Should we take a detour? Gojo Satoru was always a few minutes late, just enough to avoid getting scolded. It had become his habit. Apart from meeting Bai Ye, he had never failed to be late. Even Eiichi Kiyotaka had gotten used to it. No need, let's go a little early for a change. Just as he finished speaking, he immediately sensed a menacing aura directed at him. This cursed power. It's unregistered and special grade. Is it coming for me? Just as Bai Ye warned, there's a curse targeting me. Although Bai Ye advised not to be too careless, I can only face it now. Stop the car. Having made up his mind, Gojo Satoru instructed Eiichi to stop the car. Eiichi was a bit puzzled. Stop the car here? After parking, Eiichi couldn't help but complain inwardly. He just said we should arrive early, but now we're wasting time here. You go ahead. Gojo Satoru got out of the car and said. Eiichi looked at Gojo Satoru in astonishment and cautiously asked, is this a test for me? If I really leave, will I get beaten up? What do you take me for? Gojo Satoru said coldly. Eiichi felt a bit at a loss due to Gojo Satoru's indifference and tentatively said with a trembling voice, all right, then I'll leave. Advertisement. Eiichi left shortly after. Gojo Satoru sensed that the curse aura was getting very close. Boom. A surprise attack from above caused a large pit to be smashed into the road. Gojo Satoru, who evaded the attack, looked at the revealed Rakaku and thought to himself, as expected, it's much stronger than an ordinary special grade curse, just like what teacher Bai Ye said. Who are you? Rakaku did not answer Gojo Satoru's question and directly launched an attack. A momentary volcanic vent was created on the rock wall behind Gojo Satoru, and a violent eruption of magma instantly engulfed him completely. Seeing that Gojo Satoru didn't dodge at all and took his attack head-on, Rakaku couldn't help but feel a bit smug. Ha ha ha. It seems like it's not a big deal after all. I thought being called the strongest sorcerer meant being really strong, but it was unexpectedly easy to deal with. Since Rakaku did indeed launch an attack on Gojo Satoru, the binding between him and Bai Ye was also released at this moment. Rakaku grinned, showing a mocking smile. Open black lens bracket 1 down, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket now it's your turn, you despicable guy, close black lens bracket. Luo Hu couldn't help but imagine the scene of revenge against Bai Ye in his mind. Stare. However, just at this moment, Luo noticed something unusual. Who are you saying is nothing special? With the sound, Gojo Satoru emerged unharmed from the dust. HMPH. Brat. Luo Hu snorted discontentedly. And Gojo Satoru, looking at Luo Hu who could communicate, showed no surprise or worry, but rather a little excitement. Open black lens bracket. Just like Bai Ye said, even though it's a cursed spirit, it can communicate like a human. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Being able to escape from under Bai Ye's hands, it seems to have some skills. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. It's really exciting. What if I exorcise this curse that Bai Ye has severely injured here? Close black lens bracket. Flowers please. Advertisement. Open black lens bracket. Bai Ye will definitely be happy, right? Close black lens bracket. Gojo Satoru mistakenly thought that Luo Hu had been seriously injured by Bai Ye and that he was about to take advantage of the situation. Something is called special because it's special. Just casually running out like this, it's really annoying. Although he said this, Gojo Satoru's expression didn't look like he was annoyed at all, but rather eager to try. He. Is your pride hurt? No, it's becoming more and more interesting. Is it interesting? No sense of crisis at all? Seeing Gojo Satoru's seemingly unguarded appearance, Lu Hu couldn't help but feel a sense of familiarity. That feeling of having a flaw but seemingly not having one is similar to Bai Ye, just not as intense. Specially chose this deserted place? Is curse really this kind-hearted? No, it's probably to prevent other sorcerers from coming to help. He. Gojo Satoru couldn't help but grin, clenching his fists. And at this moment, on a large tree in the dense forest, Bai Ye was leaning against the tree trunk, having a video call with Li Zi. I understand, I'll come home early tonight. Perhaps it was because of the past few days of going out with Li Zi to relax. Today Li Zi unexpectedly mentioned it. After saying, come home early, she hung up the phone on her own initiative. Somewhat unexpectedly, Bai Ye put his phone back in his pocket, then focused his attention on the battlefield not far away. The battle between Gojo Satoru and Lu Hu had already begun. Let's enjoy this battle next. Bai Ye lazily stretched and sat on a tree branch, leaning against the tree trunk, enjoying the evening breeze. Let me see if Lu Hu is really working hard. 63 Doing my best, live teaching for Itadori. The battle between Luo Hu and Gojo Satoru has been intense from the very beginning. Luo Hu wasted no time in unleashing his full power against Gojo Satoru. The immense power of Jujutsu turned the surroundings into ruins. And Gojo Satoru was also enjoying this process. After a fierce fight, Luo Hu's 2 Jujutsu hit Gojo Satoru hard. Gojo Satoru, struck by Luo Hu's technique, had his entire head engulfed in violently burning magma. Wudo, Wudo. With a loud shout, Luo Hu struck Gojo Satoru's back with another palm. Boom. Magma burst out from Luo Hu's palm, completely enveloping Gojo Satoru. The magma beam instantly turned everything it touched into dust with its terrifying high temperature. Seeing Gojo Satoru being hit by his own attack, Luo Hu grinned, revealing a set of black teeth. Hey, is that all? After actually fighting, I realized that it was just an exaggeration by the weak to call it 720. Human beings nowadays are indeed counterfeit. They live in falsehood, showing their ugly side, which is disgusting. Luo Hu flicked his sleeve, retracting his attack. With a hint of disappointment, he turned around to leave. The true strength and reality will be spread through your death. Just then, Gojo Satoru fanned away the thick smoke in front of him and calmly said, didn't we just go through this move? Have a better memory. Staring wide-eyed, Luo Hu couldn't believe what he was seeing. Turning his head abruptly, he indeed saw the lively Gojo standing there. What's going on? Well, in simple terms, you didn't hit me. How is that possible? It's completely different from before. Luo Hu suddenly turned around, looking completely incomprehensible. I did touch you and killed you. Unlike Luo Hu's shocked expression, Gojo Satoru appeared very relaxed. Thanks to Teacher Bai Ye. If Teacher Bai Ye hadn't injured them and they all appeared together, it would have been a bit troublesome. And I can clearly feel that he's not as strong as Teacher Bai Ye said. Thanks to Teacher Bai Ye, he must have injured the opponent, causing their strength to decrease. Indeed, this is teacher Bai Ye's style. No, this is how a teacher should be. Gojo Satoru praised Bai Ye in his heart again, then smiled and said, to be precise, what you touched was the infinite between you and me. Advertisement. Looking completely puzzled. Let me demonstrate it to you. Extend your hand. Saying that, Gojo Satoru extended his hand, beckoning Luohu to do the same. Seeing Gojo Satoru's harmless appearance and the absence of any killing intent, Luohu decided to give it a try. He slowly approached and reached out his hand towards Gojo Satoru. Just as his hand was about to touch Gojo Satoru, it stopped just inches away. Unable to get any closer, stopped just inches away. Is this the infinite? I feel like I've encountered this feeling somewhere before. Right. It was on that guy. When he was fighting with Hanami and the others, it was the same, completely unable to touch him. What is the relationship between him and Gojo Satoru? Just as Luohu was puzzled, Gojo Satoru took the initiative to explain, it's not that it stopped, but rather the closer you get to me, the slower your speed becomes. What should we do next? I can shake hands with you like this. As Gojo Satoru spoke, his hand quickly moved up, I refuse. Anger immediately surged from Luohu's body, he clenched his teeth, his eyes bloodshot. However, Gojo Satoru ignored Luohu's opinion and directly grabbed his hand. Bang! Then, at a speed that Luohu couldn't see clearly, a punch struck his abdomen. Luohu's body was sent flying by this punch, but because he was grabbed by Gojo Satoru, he couldn't completely fly away, only his feet left the ground. A mouthful of blood sprayed from Luohu's mouth, then it stopped in front of Gojo Satoru. It was as if there was an invisible barrier in the middle, and the blood splattered on the barrier. So fast! His strikes are not just enhanced by cursed power. What is it? I don't understand. But I have to figure it out, it's not over yet. Gojo Satoru forcefully pulled Luohu back and then used both his hands and feet to strike him. Outside a lake in the nearby dense forest. Advertisement. Bai Ye sat on a tree branch with a faint smile on his lips. Speaking to himself, Go, you really are a bit cunning. Holding up the banner of demonstration and then beating others mercilessly. He shook his head slightly and said again, don't say I taught you this in the future. Completely unaware that Bai Ye was nearby, Gojo Satoru gathered cursed power at his fingertips and said emotionlessly, reverse technique, hey. The destructive power of the reverse technique was stronger than all of Luohu's previous attacks combined. After taking a solid hit from Gojo Satoru's technique, Luohu was sent flying at an extremely fast speed by the impact. After recovering from the impact, he tried to counterattack several times, but Gojo Satoru was able to attack him before he could counter. He couldn't react at all. After finally finding an opportunity to launch an attack, he was easily dodged by Gojo Satoru and kicked away. Until it fell into the lake and finally stopped, and at this moment, a flash of lightning suddenly crossed Gojo Satoru's mind. To establish a clear goal for Itadori, Bai Ye's words suddenly appeared in his mind. Oh, right. This opportunity is perfect. Then, at an extremely fast speed, he arrived at the place where Itadori temporarily resided. Time to go out, Yuji. Huh, Itadori, who was watching a movie, was startled. Extracurricular lesson, I'll teach you the pinnacle of Jujutsu, domain expansion, Gojo Satoru spoke while wearing a nostalgic expression. He remembered the precious memories when Bai Ye guided him in Jujutsu. Inside the lake, Ryomen Sukuna was already heavily injured. He realized the gap between himself and Gojo Satoru. Lying in the water, he recalled what Xia Youjie had said to him. Do not engage in a direct fight with Gojo Satoru, otherwise, there is a possibility of being exorcised, 2.0. It seems like he wasn't bluffing, but since I can't hit you, I'll drag you into my domain. While Ryomen Sukuna muttered to himself, Bai Ye on the tree by the shore couldn't bear to look and covered his forehead with his hand. Internally, he mourned for Ryomen Sukuna, hey. It's okay, Ryomen Sukuna, you've done your best. It seemed like comforting words, but if Ryomen Sukuna were to hear them, he would only feel mocked. It would only fuel his anger. 10 seconds later, Gojo Satoru appeared on the surface of the lake with Itadori. A live teaching session is about to begin. 64 Realm Collision, Gojo Satoru's idol, subscription required. Surprise. Seeing Gojo Satoru appear again, bringing along another person, Luohu couldn't help but be shocked. That guy is Sukuna's vessel. Sukuna's vessel is indeed still alive. On the lakeshore, Bai Ye saw Gojo Satoru bring Itadori and gently nodded, holding his chin with his hand. Well done. You did listen to what I said and even did some thinking. On the surface of the lake. Long time no see. In just 10 seconds, Gojo Satoru introduced Itadori Yuji to Luohu, saying, this is Itadori Yuji, a student who has come to observe and learn. Looking at the lively Itadori, Luohu couldn't help but recall Xia Youjie's suggestion. Render Gojo Satoru unable to fight, and then recruit Ryomen Sukuna, Itadori Yuji. After pondering, Lu Hu thought to himself, in order to consider the future, I can't kill him. So, what is his purpose in bringing Itadori here? Could it be? Has Gojo Satoru sensed our intentions? Why did you bring that brat here? To use him as a human shield? Lu Hu said with a difficult expression. If it really was as he suspected, he couldn't go all out against Gojo and risk killing Itadori, who might end up being used as a shield. A human shield? No, didn't I say it? He's just here to observe and learn. I'm currently teaching him various things, so you don't need to worry, just keep fighting, Gojo Satoru said confidently. It wasn't that he was arrogant, but he had the qualifications to be so. To actually bring back such a burden voluntarily, how foolish. Although Lu Hu knew of Gojo Satoru's strength, that he could protect others even in battle, he refused to admit it. I was told that he has the strength of 8 or 9 of Sukuna's fingers. I'm not weak, however, just as he thought this in his heart. Gojo Satoru sneered and said, it's fine, anyway, you're weak. His expression showed no trace of falsehood, as if he was stating a fact. Stunned. Ryomen Sukuna was stunned for a second. Puh, the small volcano on top of his head erupted instantly. Not only did magma burst out from the top of his head, but 2 streams of magma also spewed out from his ears. Gojo Satoru's words pierced Sukuna's heart. Instantly, it enraged him. Don't underestimate me, you brat, advertisement. I'll swallow that smug face of yours, anger erupted. His blood vessels expanded, and his veins bulged. A powerful pressure rushed towards them. All the birds and beasts in the area were scared away by this pressure. However, among the 4 people present, only Itadori felt his hair stand on end. Gojo Satoru remained indifferent, and Bai Ye on the shore was even more unconcerned. Feeling the pressure that made his hair stand on end, Itadori couldn't help but question Gojo Satoru's words. This guy. Weak? He's far more terrifying than any curse he has encountered before. Smack. Just as Itadori was filled with fear, Gojo Satoru placed his hand on Itadori's head. It's okay, don't leave my side. Itadori felt slightly relieved, and the enraged Sukuna unleashed his domain. Domain expansion. Seal the coffin, encircle the mountain with iron. A pitch-black barrier, just like a curtain, instantly enveloped the 2 individuals. Immediately, the earth dried up and cracked. Scorching magma gushed out from the cracks. Amidst the churning magma, waves of heat rippled. What is this? Itadori asked in astonishment. This is domain expansion, a domain created by applying a technique with cursed energy in the surroundings, Gojo Satoru patiently explained to Itadori. What you experienced in the juvenile detention center was an incomplete domain without the application of a technique. Expanding a domain consumes an enormous amount of cursed energy, but it also comes with corresponding benefits. While Gojo Satoru was teaching Itadori, Ryuko launched an attack. However, it was easily resolved by Gojo Satoru. Not only that. Even though he was already within Ryuko's domain, he could still chat and laugh, appearing relaxed and at ease. This made him keenly aware of the gap between them. His strength is probably already close to that person. Even if he can't surpass him, he won't be far behind. Although I came here because of the bond I formed with that guy, I feel like it doesn't matter if I can't kill Gojo. But as a cursed spirit, as a new human being, I still can't accept this outcome. Advertisement, don't even think about leaving a trace, Gojo Satoru. It seems that a high decibel level can bring about greater power. Ryuko shouted loudly, unleashing his strongest move. Meanwhile, after finishing his explanation to Itadori, Gojo Satoru calmly expanded his domain. Domain expansion. Void of the starry sky. Whoosh. Time seemed to suddenly stop, and everything in front of Ryuko froze. Although I can see everything, I can't do anything. In an instant, Gojo Satoru expanded his domain and suddenly realized that there was an extra person inside the domain. A figure that could only be vaguely seen through the perception of cursed energy. At the same time, he lost control of his domain. Bai Ye activated the domain, absolute assimilation. Itadori was completely unaware of all this and was still immersed in sensing his surroundings. Bai Ye sensei. Gojo Satoru suddenly became excited and exclaimed in surprise. Huh? Itadori was startled. What did Gojo sensei just say? He looked around, but he didn't see anyone. It seems like I misheard. There's no one else here. And is it really possible for someone to teach Gojo sensei, a jujutsu sorcerer, like that? It's impossible. Just as Itadori comforted himself in his heart, a blurry figure appeared before his eyes. That person was talking to Gojo sensei, and Gojo Satoru sensei was nodding like a good student. Itadori suddenly realized something. Yuji, he's here. He's the idol that Gojo sensei mentioned. Gulp. Itadori couldn't help but swallow his saliva. I've seen something incredible. The living, legendary, idol of Gojo Sensei. P.S. Although I'm grateful, please 65 teachings of Gojo Satoru, a real person with strong curiosity. Wake up, he still has some use, so let's just stop here for now. Bai Ye patted Gojo Satoru's shoulder and said, although Gojo Satoru was somewhat puzzled, he still followed Bai Ye's instructions. But before that, Gojo Satoru used Jujutsu to destroy Rakaku's body, leaving only a volcano head. Bai Ye sensei. Gojo Satoru hesitated to speak. No need to say more, Bai Ye also knew what Gojo didn't want to ask. The purpose of sparing his life is, they may have a considerable number of fingers in their possession. We should be able to exchange some fingers for his life. In addition, we can also interrogate for some information. Do you understand? Bai Ye looked deeply at Gojo Satoru. I understand, Bai Ye sensei. Gojo Satoru answered loudly with a serious expression. Just as Gojo Satoru was about to interrogate Rakaku, suddenly an attack came. Who? A bouquet formed by cursed energy fell in front of the three of them. As soon as the bouquet landed, it quickly took root and spread around. Rapid growth, rapid blooming. For a moment, the three of them were surrounded by a sea of flowers. A warm feeling instantly filled the place. Their fighting spirit weakened, and their vigilance relaxed. Whoosh! A half-sized flower Shikigami appeared in front of Bai Ye with a determined expression. In the moment he saved Rakaku, he clearly saw the smile on Bai Ye's face. That appearance seemed to show no surprise that he would appear here. Instantly, sweat poured down, nerves tightened. However, what surprised Hanami was that Bai Ye did not make a move against him. Advertisement. Instead, he just watched as he saved Rakaku. Just as Gojo Satoru was about to intervene, Itadori fell into danger. By the time he saved Itadori, Hanami had already escaped. Gojo Satoru looked in the direction Hanami escaped, but did not detect any presence. Feeling a bit embarrassed, he scratched his head and looked at Bai Ye apologetically, saying, Bai Ye sensei, I'm really sorry. Even though I was here, I still let the other party escape. Please scold me, Bai Ye sensei. Gojo Satoru deeply bowed, almost at a 90-degree angle, to express his apology. Bai Ye smiled slightly and didn't say anything about it. Instead, he told him not to worry about it. This is not Gojo's fault. Don't worry too much. The other party is very good at hiding their presence. If we really want to investigate, I also have some responsibility. After comforting Gojo Satoru, Bai Ye then said, Gojo, my current identity cannot be made public yet. I'll leave Itadori to you. After Bai Ye finished speaking, he quickly left the place, leaving Gojo Satoru and Itadori facing each other. Gojo sensei. Itadori was about to ask, but was interrupted by Gojo Satoru. Yuji, I hope everyone can become strong enough to surpass what just happened. Huh? Surpass that curse from earlier? Itadori questioned. It's better to set a more specific goal, right? Gojo Satoru said casually, as if he was talking about something that could be achieved with just effort. Just strive to reach it next. Next, Gojo Satoru self-assuredly confirmed the training plan for Itadori. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yaga Masamichi remained silent, sitting in the room with a face full of impatience, waiting for Gojo Satoru. The atmosphere in the room became unusually heavy. Also in the room was Eiichi Kiyotaka, who was feeling restless at the moment. In an old residential area, advertisement Hanami returned with only one head left. Seeing Hanami in such a miserable state, everyone was shocked. The stitched-up human spoke first, breaking the silence. Hanami, you're okay. Staring, Hanami angrily widened their eyes. Which eye of yours saw that I'm okay? This result is already quite good, Xia Youjie said with a serious expression. Now you should understand that it's not easy to deal with just one Gojo Satoru. We need to establish the appropriate advantage at the right time and place in order to seal him. And now there's another guy who's not weaker than Gojo Satoru. Let's plan to seal that guy or one of the Gojo Satoru on October 31st in Shibuya. Now use words, along with the miserable state of Luo who aroused strong curiosity in Bai Ye. Is that person really that strong? I'm looking forward to meeting him. I wonder if my Jujutsu will work on him. It would be really interesting if I could add him to my collection. Seeing the expression on Bai Ye's face, now Yu knew what he was thinking. In a serious tone, Li Nuo warned, Bai Ye, I advise you not to have any thoughts of approaching him. It's best to dismiss this idea as soon as possible. His strength cannot be described in words. The pressure that Bai Ye brought to Now Yu was deeply engraved in his mind. Even just thinking back to it gave him a shiver. Ha ha ha. Damn. Now Yu is right, that person is stronger than Gojo Satoru. Even Hanao, Luo Hu, and Tora agreed with Now Yu's words. But Bai Ye didn't care. Instead, he made up his mind to meet Bai Ye. 66 Bai Ye's warning. A real person encounters Bai Ye, seeking subscription. Time flies by. Under intense training, the time for the meeting between the principals of the two vocational schools to discuss specific matters quickly arrived. While interesting things were happening among the students on both sides, the higher-ups were also facing an unprecedented crisis. Vocational School Conference Hall. The soon-to-retire principal of Kyoto School, Gakuganji Yoshinobu, was waiting here with his assistant, Miwa Kasumi. Has Principal Yaga not arrived yet? My time as an old man is limited and precious. Just as he was becoming impatient, a gust of wind suddenly blew in the room. Principal Yaga will not be coming for the time being. Shocked. A chilling aura suddenly appeared. Immediately after, a figure that couldn't be clearly seen appeared in the room. Even though the person just stood there, Gakuganji Yoshinobu felt as if he was being stared at by a fierce tiger. The immense power of the curse was as deep as the sea. The terrifying pressure was far beyond what a special grade could compare to. Even Gakuganji Yoshinobu, who had experienced countless battles and had seen much, felt a sense of fear emerging from the depths of his heart. Sweat dripped from his forehead. Who is it? Can't see the appearance clearly. Never seen such a power. It's like a monster formed by the condensation of curse power. Is it a curse? He desperately wanted to get up and be on guard, but it felt as if a pair of giant hands formed by a curse were holding him down, rendering him completely immobile. Miwa Kasumi, a second-year student at Kyoto School who was temporarily serving as an assistant in the room, was sweating profusely at this moment. Whoa! Who is it? Is it Gojo Satoru? Such strong curse power? My legs and stomach are going weak. I really want to escape. Bai Ye didn't pay attention to their reactions and sat down, saying to himself, because I informed him of a fake meeting time. Bai Ye made Gojo Satoru delay Yaga Masamichi. Advertisement. There was no threat, but simply because Bai Ye said so, Gojo Satoru was more than willing to do it. Who are you? Why are you here? What do you want? Gakuganji asked 3 consecutive questions. Who I am doesn't matter. Bai Ye smiled slightly and said very casually, what you should be more concerned about is what will happen in the near future. What do you mean? Haven't you noticed? Bai Ye said with some regret. I thought the intelligence network of the High-Grade Sorcerer Association already knew. It seems you are still in the dark. Bai Ye's words were full of mockery, which made Gakuganji very unhappy. Bai Ye ignored Gakuganji's displeasure and continued, the times have changed. It's normal for old folks like you from the old era to not be able to smell it. After all, you're already at this age. Bai Ye's words seemed frivolous, but they had a different taste in Miwa Kasumi's ears. Oh no. This guy is so handsome. He actually spoke to Principal Gakuganji with this kind of tone. Gakuganji's gaze froze. What exactly are you trying to say? Bai Ye chuckled lightly. Haven't you noticed? More and more curses that far surpass special grade are appearing. The tide of power that you have sealed off for useless status and tradition has risen to an uncontrollable level and is surging towards this era. In the future generations, special grade, which is a simple and crude scale, will no longer be able to measure it. Bai Ye paused and continued. Just recently, I encountered 3 unregistered special grade curses, each with unprecedented strength. Even if they were to encounter Gojo Satoru, who is known as the strongest sorcerer, it would be quite troublesome. Shocking. Gakuganji was instantly shocked, but he didn't fully believe what Bai Ye said. However, although Bai Ye restricted his actions, he didn't show any intention to kill, and even had the idea of having a conversation. Unable to figure out the other party's background, Gakuganji didn't dare to provoke Bai Ye like this, so he had to continue the conversation. That was truly a disaster. Don't misunderstand, for me, it's just like encountering a small incident of a questionnaire survey on the street. Ah, this is too cool, Miwa Kasumi exclaimed in her heart. Even Gakuganji was surprised and looked at Bai Ye's eyes with even more astonishment. How strong is this person really? He evaded Gojo Satoru's detection without a sound. Is he on the same level as Gojo Satoru? No, it's better to consider them as allies. His appearance here might be Gojo Satoru's arrangement. This is really troublesome. Having one Gojo Satoru is already troublesome enough, and now there's another equally troublesome brat. Seeing Gakuganji Yoshinobu looking troubled, Bai Ye sneered, considering himself an obstacle to Gakuganji. It seems you still don't understand. Advertisement. Those curses not only have a considerable level of intelligence to communicate, but what's even more terrifying is that they form alliances. An alliance formed by curses of that level will surely overturn your understanding. Bai Ye sighed lightly. I thought the only one going against you was Gojo Satoru, but it seems you're in for a tough time. Bai Ye paused for a moment and continued. Haven't you noticed? It's not just curses, but the level of students on your side, like Yuta Orimoto and Akatsu, has also been rapidly improving in recent years. Plus, there was the incident with Jujutsu High's second-year student, Maki Zenin, last summer, and the appearance of the Sukuna container. He. I think even a pig would understand at this point. Gakuganji felt anger in his heart. This guy, however, he couldn't refute Bai Ye's words. Even if he was called a pig, he understood the other party's meaning. The future generation of Jujutsu turmoil will appear. Just then, Bai Ye suddenly stood up and left the room after saying a few words. I have said what I wanted to say. What will you do next? Whether you gather all your strength to find and eliminate me, or seek the power to resist the upcoming tide, it doesn't matter. You all just do your best. Follow your usual style of action, following your inner fears. After Bai Ye left for a long time, Gakuganji Yoshinobu couldn't escape from the pressure left by Bai Ye. When he came back to his senses, cold sweat had already broken out on his back. A sense of fear instantly swept over his whole body. Phew, after taking a deep breath, he finally said to Miwa Kasumi, who was standing next to him, Sanrin, go buy some tea. He needed to calm down and think carefully. Yes. Miwa Kasumi solemnly responded and immediately left the room. After closing the door, she instantly revealed a happy expression mixed with a little fear. That guy was so cool just now. Let's catch up with him and take a picture together. 1 month later. Jujutsu, September 2018. Kawasaki City, Kanagawa Prefecture, at the movie theater. The protagonist encountered Bai Ye here, 67 fishing law enforcement, beating real people violently, subscription required. I understand. Master Rico, after watching the movie, I'll go back and prepare a delicious meal, waiting for the arrival of Master Rico and Miss Kuroi. Huh? The movie theater. Did you go with another woman? Rico's voice on the phone sounded clearly displeased. No, it was just me. Can't I relax a bit? Bai Ye said innocently. After a few seconds of silence, Rico continued, If it's just you, then it's not impossible, but, Bai Ye, my brother, you should find a proper job sooner. And also, don't fool around with other women. I absolutely won't cause any trouble, I promise. At the entrance of the movie theater, Bai Ye said this to Rico on the phone. After receiving Bai Ye's assurance, Rico hung up the phone with a slightly relieved feeling, then immersed herself in thought while holding the documents in her hand. Bai Ye's voice feels a bit lonely. I should go watch a movie with him next time. Thinking about their next date, Rico happily focused on her work. Inside the movie theater, Bai Ye bought a ticket for Worm Man 3 inches and just found a seat he liked when 3 delinquent-looking high school students walked in. As they walked, they talked about the most brag-worthy thing they had done recently. You guys know, right? That woman. I got her yesterday, the leader of the 3 boys proudly said, his head held high. Huh? Who? You mean Tsubasa? I envy you, she's so big, it must feel great, right? No need to say, that feeling is simply amazing. That's great, I want to try it too if I have the chance. I promise you won't regret it. Ha ha ha. The leader leaned in close to the 2 and said wickedly. Hearing you say that, I definitely have to try it. The 3 of them laughed and sat down in the front row. They didn't notice Bai Ye sitting in the middle seat at all. Hearing their conversation, Bai Ye shook his head helplessly and said in a volume they could hear, high school students these days are getting more and more outrageous. Bai Ye's words immediately caused displeasure among the 3 people, who walked together towards Bai Ye with a faint intention of surrounding him. Huh? You, what did you just say? I heard everything. What kind of person do you think I am? I definitely didn't enjoy happy days in high school, and even after entering society, I'm still a loner. After hearing our conversation, your heart must be filled with displeasure, right? Ha ha ha. The 3 people burst into laughter. If you don't apologize to us now, we won't forgive you. Don't think that just because we're high school students. The leader of the group was about to grab Bai Ye's collar as he spoke. Smack. Thud. Advertisement, however. With the sound of 2 crisp noises, the leader of the group was slapped and fell to the ground. His face was covered in blood. You. The boy touched his nose and saw that his hand was covered in blood. He immediately signaled his 2 companions to attack Bai Ye together. You 2. Let's go. Smack, smack, thud, thud. Again, 2 crisp sounds rang out simultaneously, and before the boys on the ground could get up and threaten, the other 2 were also knocked down. Their faces were bruised and swollen. Seeing the situation turn bad, the leader of the group stepped back while threatening, don't come any closer, otherwise I'll call the police. Bai Ye didn't get up, he just turned his head and glanced at him coldly, saying, do you still have something to say? If not, get lost and stop bothering me while I'm watching a movie. Bai Ye's gaze was very calm, but it startled the 3 people. They huddled together and muttered a few words to salvage their pride before running away in a hurry. You. Just wait, we won't let it end like this. Just as the 3 of them were fleeing in a panic from the entrance of the movie theater, they happened to run into Yoshino Junpei, who had also come to watch a movie. But now they didn't have time to pay attention to who they had bumped into. They were solely focused on running to report to the police and seek justice. Seeing 3 familiar faces running out of the movie theater with guilty expressions, Junpei looked bewildered. "If you're so scared of horror movies, why did you skip class to come watch?" he muttered. After muttering to himself, Junpei walked into the movie theater with anticipation. And accompanying him was the real person who came to understand what it means to be human. How strange. The real person stood at the entrance, looking at the empty movie theater with a sense of curiosity. "There are clearly not many people here, but I feel a strong aura here that is attracting me." After looking around, he quickly focused his gaze on Bai Ye. But he clearly doesn't emit any trace of magic power, yet I feel a tremor from him. Asking for flowers. Looks like I found something interesting, I'll add him to my collection. With a sinister smile, the real person appeared behind Bai Ye. Just as he was about to reach out and use Wu-Wei transformation on Bai Ye, he keenly sensed a hint of terror. Instinctively wanting to retract his hand, he found that he couldn't move at all. "What? Advertisement, what is this?" Whoosh. At the same time, a strong pressure suddenly erupted from Bai Ye in front of him. Thump thump thump. His heart raced uncontrollably, filled with fear. Before he could react, a powerful surge of magic power sent him flying. He crashed into all the chairs behind him, only coming to a stop when he hit the wall. Ouch. Open black lens bracket amazingly strong. Close black lens bracket, these 2 words burst out of his mind. Just as he was about to look up at Bai Ye, his pupils suddenly contracted, and he saw a fist suddenly appear and rapidly enlarge. Boom. The real person's head was punched into the wall by Bai Ye. Blood gushed out. "I'm telling you, you should watch movies in a civilized manner. Not only did you sneak in without buying a ticket, but disturbing others will also make them angry." While Bai Ye was lecturing, he also received a prompt from the system. Successfully rewrote the real person's Jujutsu, Wu-Wei transformation. Bai Ye lowered his head and looked at his own hand, whispering, "Did the rewrite succeed? It seems like you really enjoy playing with other people's souls, huh? In that case, let me show you what it feels like." With a smile on his lips, Bai Ye reached out and used Wu-Wei transformation on the real person. The stitches broke inch by inch. The body, which was connected by stitches, instantly split into 4 or 5 pieces. Every separated part was turned by Bai Ye into a mass of flesh, drained of moisture. Pain. Fear. They emerged from the depths of the real person's soul and left a profound mark. Why? Why is he using my Jujutsu? Why is it that my Wu-Wei transformation is used more skillfully in his hands than in mine? Unable to comprehend. Unable to resist, despair. This word appeared for the first time in the real person's soul. 68 Nanami, who fled in embarrassment and never worked overtime, went online at sea, subscription required. Completely powerless to resist, not an opponent, unable to break free. "I might be killed here," cracked skull, withered and detached limbs. Make the real person realize this terrifying fact. The sense of powerlessness that comes from the depths of the soul made the real person think for the first time that they might die here. "I want to escape. I don't want to die, but I can't escape. I have to die. Hana Maitodo. Luohu. Xiaoyu. Who will come? Who will save me?" The real person, who was played with by Bai Ye, pleaded in their heart. But no one could come to save him. Despair enveloped his whole body. "I was wrong. I shouldn't have skipped the ticket. I shouldn't have disturbed others watching the movie." He wanted to apologize, but his lips no longer obeyed him. Even if he exerted all his strength, he couldn't make a sound. 650. He could only plead with his eyes. However, Bai Ye completely ignored him. Even if he could apologize, Bai Ye would never forgive him so easily. Crack. Bai Ye easily twisted off the real person's head, and then kicked it out like a ball. Gurgle gurgle, the real person rolled to the feet of Yoshino Junpei. He had noticed something abnormal here a long time ago, but Bai Ye's terrifying aura made it impossible for him to speak. It wasn't fear, it wasn't terror, it was thinking in his heart whether he could do the same thing. To use it to punish those evil forces. Looking at the real person's head at his feet, he felt no pity, nor did he feel afraid. Bad behavior should be punished, that's his current mindset. In the moment when Jianren discovered Shunping, a spark of hope ignited in his eyes. If I treat this person as a hostage, maybe I can escape with my life. However, before he could put his thoughts into action, he felt a sudden dizziness. Bai Ye kicked his head away. He crashed through the building and landed in a corner filled with garbage, covered in dust. At this moment, Jianren looked like a discarded, tattered ball. Inside the cinema, advertisement Shunping was deeply shocked by Bai Ye's actions and quickly followed him outside. Then, in a dark corner, he saw Bai Ye stepping on Jianren. Jin Yi Shunping gathered his courage to speak. Can I do the same thing? Huh? Bai Ye's gaze slightly froze. When you say the same thing, do you mean? Swish. Just as Bai Ye was speaking, Jianren somehow regained some of his abilities and took Junpei hostage. If you dare to come after us, I'll kill this brat. With the hostage, Jianren gained confidence and immediately threatened Bai Ye. Then he fled with Jin Yi Junpei. Even in this situation, Bai Ye had more than one way to deal with Jianren. However, Bai Ye didn't immediately stop Jianren. Instead, a wicked smile appeared on his lips. Let you enjoy yourself for a while. First give you hope, then make you despair. It's really exciting to anticipate your expression. Due to the 3 delinquent teenagers calling the police, combined with the damage caused by Bai Ye and the others in the cinema, the police immediately arrived and sealed off the scene. The media quickly reported on the incident on television. During the lunch break, Riko, who was eating with Hei Jing, was also drawn to the sudden news interruption while looking at her phone. Has there been an explosion at the movie theater? How could something like this happen? Riko suddenly realized something as she said this. Hei Jing, who was next to her, also noticed. The movie theater. Didn't Riko say Mr. Bai Ye went to watch a movie too? Could it be there? After Hei Jing's reminder, Riko remembered. Bai Ye had mentioned when he reported to her that he was watching a movie at the movie theater. Thump. Riko's heart sank halfway, and she immediately took out her phone and dialed Bai Ye's number. Answer the phone. Please answer the phone. Don't scare me. After a few seconds of waiting, for Riko at this moment, it felt like centuries had passed. Tears had already started swirling in her eyes, and she couldn't wait to rush out and find Bai Ye. Just as she was about to get up, the call connected. Riko? What's wrong? It was Bai Ye's voice. There didn't seem to be anything unusual in his voice. After confirming that Bai Ye was okay, Riko collapsed back onto her chair as if she had used up all her strength, and tears started flowing. Tears of joy. You idiot, Bai Ye. You big idiot. Riko wiped her tears while angrily saying. Bai Ye on the other end of the phone was speechless. Advertisement, I'm glad you're okay. After investigating the dried meat mass suspected to be a corpse, the Jujutsu High Special Grade received a commission from the police. Namami Kento and Itadori were assigned to this mission. However, when they arrived, they found several humans who had been transformed into monsters, in addition to the residuals intentionally left behind by Bai Ye and the shriveled bodies. While they were dealing with these monsters, Bai Ye had already ended his call with Riko and tracked down the temporary hiding place of the real person. A hidden drainage ditch. The real person was nervously setting up traps inside. However, all of his traps were instantly neutralized by Bai Ye. The people forcibly transformed by the real person were also restored to their original state through Bai Ye's Wu Wei transformation. Feeling of discord. The moment the real person sensed something abnormal, he was overwhelmed by an irresistible force and fell to the ground. So fast, I didn't expect my trap to be so easily resolved by him. Who is he? I was attacked before I could even see clearly. Now, I will remember his face and come back for revenge next time. The real person angrily widened his eyes, wanting to see Bai Ye's face. However, even though his eyes were bloodshot, he couldn't see Bai Ye's face. He could only see a blurry image, and the overwhelming curse power behind Bai Ye, like the vast ocean of Wang Yang. Shocked, at this moment, he suddenly remembered something. It was what Xia Youjie had told him. That person is extremely powerful, with strength comparable to Gojo Satoru, maybe even stronger. What does he look like? I don't know, we can't see his face at all. We only feel that he is like a collection of curse power, endless and boundless. And the person appearing before his eyes was exactly as Xia Youjie had described. Despair. Regret. Rising from the depths of his heart. This was the first time he felt regret for not listening to Xia Youjie's words. Real person, I advise you not to have any thoughts of approaching him. It's better to dispel this idea as soon as possible. His strength cannot be described in words anymore. Recalling Xia Youjie's warning, the real person struggled on the ground, completely forgetting that he, as a cursed spirit, could still use curse power. For the first time, he understood that he was powerless against true strength. And Bai Ye mercilessly stomped down. 69 Go through the tragic process of hair loss, seeking subscription. Docked. Blood splattered everywhere. Bai Ye stomped through the body that had just been repaired. Thud. Another kick sent the body flying. It had an intimate encounter with the wall. The impact created a human-shaped pit in the wall. Woo-ah. A mouthful of blood sprayed from the body's mouth. No will to fight. At this moment, the body only wanted to escape. But he understood, he couldn't escape. Gritting his teeth in resentment, his eyes filled with malice. Just as Bai Ye was about to launch another wave of attacks, the body suddenly pointed at Jiano Junpei not far away and exclaimed, "You'll kill him like this." Bai Ye abruptly stopped. He knew that Jiano Junpei had also been modified by the body. Not only had his curse power been enhanced, but he had even awakened Jujutsu. The body wasn't lying. If Bai Ye continued to attack, there was a possibility that Jiano Shunping would die on the spot. The activation of Wu Wei transformation can be done remotely. Even Bai Ye might not be able to save him in time. Jiano Shunping, he must be saved. He could save him, but there was a condition: he had to make physical contact with the opponent. The condition for activating Wu Wei transformation was to make physical contact with the opponent. However, this was not the main reason for Bai Ye to stop attacking. As long as he wanted to, Bai Ye could save Jiano Shunping before the body launched a remote Wu Wei transformation. But his desire to bring despair to the body went far beyond this. Bai Ye smiled faintly, and after giving the body another punch, he stopped his attack. And taking advantage of this opening, the body launched an attack on Bai Ye. Smack! The real person grinned evilly, and slapped Bai Ye's waist with a palm. Transformation of inaction. His attack finally managed to hit the opponent, causing the real person to become somewhat arrogant. He had great confidence in his own technique. You must be a special grade sorcerer, right? You're so strong, it's perfect for you to become my experimental subject. I'm so lucky, thank you. However, buzz, advertisement. A strong sense of disharmony. Woo-wah, a mouthful of blood sprayed out. Bai Ye's soul was not harmed in the slightest, but the real person suffered a heavy blow. How could this be? His soul is enveloped by cursed power. As a sorcerer who rewrote Jujutsu, how could Bai Ye not know the target of the transformation of inaction? It was the soul. It was an attack on the soul. Ever since he crossed over to this world, he had consciously covered his soul with cursed power. Now, 10 years had passed, and his soul was already as solid as gold soup. Not to mention the real person's transformation of inaction. Even if he doubled the power of his own rewritten transformation of inaction, it would not be able to harm his soul. However, the real person was not aware of this. It's okay, as long as I continue to grow. As long as I encounter it enough times, I can break through his cursed power blockade. I can make him give up being human. Just as the real person was determined to continue attacking Bai Ye at all costs. Bai Ye suddenly disappeared from his line of sight. And when he reappeared, Bai Ye was already by Yoshino Junpei's side. You should go back quickly. I'll take care of things here. After speaking to Yoshino Junpei, Bai Ye glanced at the time. 1650. At this time. Namami should be arriving soon, Bai Ye muttered. While Bai Ye was muttering, Yoshino Junpei, who had never seen such a scene before, also left as Bai Ye instructed. As expected, not long after Yoshino Junpei left, Nanami Kento, who had been separated from Itadori, followed the residuals left by Bai Ye and found this place. Inside the drainage channel, Bai Ye looked at the motionless figure beside him, confirming that he did not defeat Nanami, and lightly laughed. It's about time, I'm going off duty now. I'll leave the finishing work to you. After Bai Ye finished speaking, he disappeared before the bewildered Nanami's eyes. Nanami, who was cautiously moving forward, suddenly felt a breeze. In that instant, he sensed that there seemed to be a fierce beast passing by him. But when he carefully perceived it, there was nothing. He pushed up his glasses and said to himself, what's been happening to me lately? Is it because I'm becoming too anxious due to the increasing amount of hair falling out on my pillow and the disappearance of my favorite bread from the convenience store shelves? Are these accumulating tiny despair making me overly anxious? It was just a gust of wind, but I mistook it for someone. Stunned. Just as Nanami was talking to himself, a faint voice sounded in his ears, go through the miserable process of hair loss. Nanami immediately took 2 steps back and cautiously looked at the empty drain behind him. Advertisement. There was nothing unusual. It seems that I was indeed too anxious. After confirming that there was no discovery, Nanami put away the blunt knife in his hand. He touched his increasingly sparse hair and sighed, I'll try to get the early shift today and go back to rest properly. Whether it's jujutsu or labor, they're all bullshit. Only the continuously falling hair is real. Watching Nanami walk slowly, Bai Ye finally revealed himself from the shore. A faint smile on his face. I completely agree with your perspective, Nanami. All this talk about 007, 996, work bringing happiness. It's just cold words spoken by the beneficiaries who don't care about their own pain and suffering. Bai Ye muttered to himself. And then, his determination to save and even subdue Nanami became even stronger. And just at this moment, ding-ling-ling, Riko's phone rang. Oh no. Bai Ye suddenly remembered that he had promised Riko to come home early today to cook. In the corridor, the human who thought he had been let go just regained his mobility. As he cursed Bai Ye and planned to leave this unforgettable place, a figure appeared before his eyes. Huh. The moment the figure appeared, the human was startled, filled with fear. His legs went weak, and he knelt down directly on the ground. No, please, let me go, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have gone to the movies, let alone sneak in to watch a forbidden movie. I shouldn't have disturbed your enjoyment. Due to the lighting, he couldn't see the other person's face clearly, and he thought Bai Ye had returned. He quickly knelt down and begged for mercy, crying bitterly. However, Sekai looked at the curse in front of him with cold sweat. This guy. What kind of powerful curse has he experienced? Could someone have beaten me to it? Is it Mr. Gojo? No, it can't be him. If it were him, this curse would have been exorcised long ago. Although Nanami muttered this in his heart, the words he said were completely different. A curse like you, do you also have the problem of hair loss? If that's the case, then I can't do anything about it. 70 migrant workers who are forced to work overtime, seeking subscription. On the way back, Bai Ye relaxed instantly when he discovered that the person in the flood control channel was not the real Bai Ye. Ha ha ha. What's so funny, so it's not him. The real Bai Ye slowly stood up and looked disdainfully at Nanami Kento not far away, completely disregarding Nanami as a threat. Oh, great. This is really great. If it was Gojo Satoru or that person who came, I would be in danger. But you're just right. Your strength is not weak, perfect for an experiment. I'm going to kill you. After saying these confusing words to Nanami, the real Bai Ye immediately launched an attack on him. This was exactly what Nanami wanted. I don't understand what you're saying, but it works out. I hate overtime, let's finish this quickly. The battle between the two was about to begin. At the same time, on the other side, with the help of Eiichi Kiyotaka, Itadori found Yoshino Junpei, who had been saved by Bai Ye. The two unexpectedly hit it off and had a pleasant conversation. Itadori was even invited to Yoshino Junpei's house as a guest. Meanwhile, Bai Ye finally made it back home before Riko arrived. He immediately started preparing the meal without wasting any time. Just as he finished cooking the meal, Riko stormed in with a face full of resentment, followed by an apologetic "Hey Jing. You're back." Bai Ye noticed Riko's anger and greeted her with a bitter smile. However, Riko did not respond to him and sat directly in front of the table with a look that said, "Even if you apologize, I won't forgive you." Hei Jing quickly gave Bai Ye a signal with her eyes. However, Bai Ye did not understand her meaning, and just when the atmosphere became awkward, Riko slapped her bag on the table. Bai Ye. Zhe. Riko's voice dragged on. Advertisement, I'm talking to you, don't you plan on explaining? Explain? Bai Ye was a bit confused. But it seemed that Riko had no intention of explaining, so he could only look to Hei Jing for help. Hei Jing met Bai Ye's gaze and immediately understood his meaning, quickly stepping forward to explain. Mr. Bai Ye, please provide Miss Riko with a detailed explanation of the cinema incident. Ah, so that's how it is. Bai Ye instantly understood. Just as he was about to explain, Riko crossed her arms and put on a lecturing expression. Bai Ye Gerger. Shouldn't you have told Gerger about this beforehand? Don't go to dangerous places. Please cherish your own life, okay? Even if you don't care about yourself, can't you think about me, your little sister? Is it really fulfilling your duty as a brother to make your sister live in fear and anxiety every day? HMPH, after Lizzie finished speaking angrily, she pouted and turned her head away from Bai Ye. Bai Ye could also tell that Lizzie was genuinely concerned about his safety. She really isn't honest at all. Bai Ye chuckled inwardly. Hei Jing Meili chimed in from the side. Lizzie is really worried about Mr. Bai Ye's safety. But I don't think Mr. Bai Ye expected a terrorist attack to happen in the cinema, right? So, Lizzie should forgive Mr. Bai Ye this time. After Hei Jing finished speaking, she not only comforted Lizzie's emotions but also gave Bai Ye a meaningful look. Bai Ye didn't hesitate and immediately took this opportunity to explain the situation to Lizzie, giving her a way out. After explaining, Lizzie's face finally eased a little. And Bai Ye took advantage of the situation and quickly served Lizzie her favorite dish. Seeing that Bai Ye had prepared her favorite dish, Lizzie visibly wavered. But she still refused to give in. Don't think that just because you made my favorite dish, I will easily forgive you. Then what do I have to do for you to forgive me? Bai Ye asked. Hei Jing on the side also looked at Lizzie curiously, wanting to know what answer she would give. However, Lizzie's answer surprised her and she couldn't help but hold her forehead. Advertisement, if you feed me the food, then I can forgive you. Lady Lizzie, please have some. Bai Ye picked up his chopsticks and fed Lizzie her favorite dish. And so, Lizzie forgave Bai Ye. After a relaxed and enjoyable dinner, Hei Jing stayed a little longer before leaving. Due to exhaustion from the day, Lizzie bid Bai Ye good night and went back to her room to rest. Inside the drainage communication channel, after some probing, Tien Heihei also realized that the curse in front of her was not so easily resolved. Although the other party suffered some injuries, I myself am not in a good state either. After glancing at the time, Nanami Hai became a little unhappy. It's already time to get off work. I was planning to take the early shift and go back to take care of my hair. But before I knew it, it's already overtime. On the other hand, perhaps having witnessed Bai Ye's terrifying strength, it made him somewhat indifferent to Nanami Hai's display of power. A first-level sorcerer, that's all. Although you're quite capable, you're almost at your limit, right? The man showed a frivolous expression that he would never show in front of Bai Ye. Sigh, I'm completely underestimated. Nanami Hai loosened his collar, took off his tie, and said, unfortunately, it's overtime now. As soon as he finished speaking, the mana on Nanami Hai's body surged. Thanks to his Jujutsu, 10-stroke curse technique, he divided his own mana into 10 parts. 3/10 of it was used during work hours, while the remaining 7/10 were used during overtime. However, even so, Nanami Hai noticed something. The only method I can think of to exorcise this cursed spirit, besides continuously causing damage to it until its mana is depleted, it's to deliver a full-force blow to shatter the walls. The first method is difficult for me at the moment. While Nanami Hai calculated this in his heart, he had already started to take action. The damage Bai Ye caused to the man was determined not to threaten Nanami's life. The reason why it didn't reach the level that even Nanami could defeat was because Bai Ye really hated the man. The longer the man lived, the more profound despair he would experience. 71 Cautiously search. Bai Ye will plan Nanami shattered the wall and then swiftly chopped off one of the cursed spirit's legs to restrict its movement. Nanami decided to temporarily retreat. He wasn't sure if this attack would be enough to exorcise the cursed spirit. I'll retreat for now. You should hurry and heal your leg. If we're both still alive, we might meet again. The battle between the two not only made the cursed spirit realize its own growth, but also greatly helped Nanami. After saying this, Nanami left before the debris from the broken wall fell. After confirming that Riko was sound asleep, Bai Ye checked all the cursed corpses he had placed around and found that everything was normal. Then he set off. Raso should have already started moving. Bai Ye muttered softly and headed towards the direction where the Yoshino Junpei family was located. On the way, Bai Ye noticed Eiichi Kiyotaka, who was also planning to go to the Yoshino Junpei family to meet Itadori. Bai Ye took the opportunity to hide in his car. At this moment, Eiichi had just finished his call with Itadori and was sitting in the car talking to himself, completely unaware that there was now another person in the car. Even if Yoshino Junpei is the culprit behind this incident, Itadori shouldn't be killed immediately, right? But, as the supervisor, I have failed miserably. I should quickly meet up with Itadori and then go to the designated location to meet Mr. Nanami. If the carefree Gojo-sensei scolds me, it's fine, but if Mr. Nanami scolds me, I might cry. Eiichi's voice sounded very nervous. Hurry up. I need to hurry. I don't want to cry in front of others at my age. Just as he started the car, ready to leave as soon as possible. Ring, ring, his phone started ringing, and what appeared on the screen was the phone call Nanami had made. Seeing the name displayed on the phone, Eiichi broke out in a cold sweat. And with a voice that could only be heard when no one was around, he shouted in a panic, "Ah! Oh no, they're calling before the agreed time. Okay, I'm going to get scolded." Eiichi mentally prepared himself for the scolding, and then answered the phone. Regardless of what happened, the first thing Eiichi did when answering the phone was to apologize. "It's me, I'm sorry." Advertisement Bai Ye, who had been sitting in the back row, smiled slightly when he saw Eiichi's appearance. Eiichi's personality is really interesting, huh? Just as Bai Ye chuckled, Eiichi unsurprisingly revealed the fact that he and Itadori had separated. Inside the drainage communication channel, Xia Youjie, whose injuries had slightly healed, followed the residuals left by the sorcerer to find this place. "Is it here?" The sorcerer's distress signal. With a heavy heart, Xia Youjie walked in. However, shortly after he entered, he suddenly froze. A chilling sensation came from the front, this residual cursed energy. He sensed the residuals left by Bai Ye. There's no mistake, it's definitely him. The fear that Bai Ye brought him would never be forgotten, and the aura of cursed energy was deeply etched in his memory. Even though he knew Bai Ye couldn't be here, even though he knew that only residuals were left here, Xia Youjie had a feeling of wanting to escape from this place. This is fear, from the depths of the soul. Meanwhile, on Itadori's side, he spent a pleasant dinner time at Junpei Yoshino's house. When Itadori got into Eiichi Kiyotaka's car and left, Bai Ye stayed behind. Silently entering the house, silently assimilating everything around. Just waiting quietly for Xia Youjie's arrival. "Raso, do you want to use one of Sukuna's fingers to help the real person grow, and also steal the fingers stored in the high school by manipulating the finger?" Hee. Bai Ye chuckled softly, "Then I'll play along." Bai Ye had wanted to retrieve the fingers stored in the high school a long time ago, but doing so might create a rift between him and Gojo Satoru. Besides, he didn't want to be enemies with everyone in the high school. He just couldn't stand the practices of the higher-ups in the high school. As for the others, there were a few he greatly admired. Moreover, he could take this opportunity to deal with the real person properly. Why not do it? Even though he had dealt with the real person many times before, Bai Ye didn't hold any grudges. You're the one who killed Namami and Junpei in the original work. And also Nagasaki. You better bear my anger well and not die so quickly. Advertisement, live on and feel my anger, feel the pain. Until I agree to let you die. While Bai Ye was thinking about these things, there was no trace of anger in his eyes, but rather a hint of anticipation. He waited for a while longer. Due to caution, Xia Youjie didn't come in person. Instead, he sent a curse that he had absorbed. Following Xia Youjie's instructions, the curse placed the finger on the table and was about to attack Junpei Yoshino. Fear. Bai Ye grabbed Curse's arm. Curse instantly became immobilized. The connection between Curse and Xia Youjie was instantly severed. At the same time, Xia Youjie's mind flashed. Cold sweat immediately broke out on his forehead. At this moment, he was like a startled bird. Subconsciously swallowing a mouthful of saliva, he muttered to himself, has it been exorcised? No information was able to be transmitted back. It seems that the plan has failed. Xia Youjie's face was gloomy. But he was very fortunate that he didn't personally take action this time. Since coming into contact with Bai Ye, he dared not be the slightest bit careless. Fortunately, I am cautious enough, otherwise if I encounter that guy again. Yoshino's house. Bai Ye lightly flicked his finger, instantly exorcising curse. Then, looking at the still unconscious Yoshino Nagi, Bai Ye whispered, we can't let Rosso and the others think that the plan has already failed, otherwise they will be cautious and not take any action. In that case, we can only take Yoshino Nagi away. Let them mistakenly believe that the plan was successful, and that curse was only exorcised by the Jujutsu sorcerer who arrived later. Junpei. I apologize for inconveniencing you. After apologizing to the empty air, Bai Ye handed Yoshino Nagi over to Fushiguro Megumi. Fushiguro Megumi would be responsible for taking care of Yoshino Nagi until Junpei was saved. Then, they fabricated a scene of Yoshino Nagi being attacked by curse at the scene before leaving. Early the next morning, Jujutsu High School confirmed Yoshino Nagi's death. 72 Bai Ye's hobbies: beating real people violently and beating real people violently. After a thorough investigation by the High Specialization, it has been confirmed that Yoshino Nagi's death was caused by a curse attack attracted by the fingers of Sukuna, based on the residuals found at the scene. As for the body, it is inferred that it was devoured by the curse. While the High Specialization confirmed Yoshino Nagi's death, Xia Youjie was successfully deceived by Bai Ye. So, it was successful, Xia Youjie muttered, not noticing anything unusual, and finally relaxed. It seems like I was just being paranoid. Master, do as you wish. But be careful not to be discovered by that guy. Master looked worried and said, really? Can I really deceive that little ghost who was saved by that guy, Xiaoyu? Of course. That's great, Master smirked evilly. I will go and kill that little ghost who escaped that day. I will make that guy regret everything he did to me, and then I will become even stronger through repentance, Nanchao. After receiving Xia Youjie's affirmative reply, Master, who had finally freed himself from the fear of Bai Ye, went to Yoshino Junpei's house with a hint of trepidation. Seeing Yoshino Junpei's current state, Master's mouth curled into a satisfied smile. If I kill him here, will you regret it later? But, how can I let him die so easily? I want him to die in agony, right in front of you. I'm really looking forward to it. How will you look when you regret it? In Master's mind, Bai Ye's regretful expression had already appeared. At this moment, Yoshino Junpei, who had fallen into despair due to the mysterious death of his only pillar of support, his mother, found it hard to believe that his mother had died so inexplicably. Even when he saw the Master suddenly appear before him, he felt no fear. He didn't even spare a second glance at the Master. But the Master remained on guard. After confirming it was safe, he put on that frivolous expression again and said, you look really down. Junpei just glanced at the Master and remained silent. But the Master didn't mind and continued, you want to know how your mother died, don't you? Shua. Upon hearing this sentence, Junpei suddenly looked up, and a sharp gaze fell on the person in front of him. You. What did you say? Do you know the cause of my mother's death? I know, the person irresponsibly lied. Tell me, who did it? Junpei rushed over and grabbed the person's shoulder angrily. Seeing Junpei getting hooked, the person's evil smile grew in their heart. It was done by a curse user. You saw it too, right? The finger that appeared in your house this morning. Advertisement, that was a cursed object that attracts curses. Why? Why would there be such a thing in my house? Junpei tearfully questioned loudly. And the person, like a kind older brother, explained, there are many curse users who make money by cursing people. I'm afraid it was their doing. As long as there are benefits in terms of personal relationships or money, they will easily use curses to kill. Compared to the simple explanation of being attacked and killed by a curse from Gao Zhuan's side, what the person said seemed more plausible. Junpei seemed to see a glimmer of hope. He was willing to believe the person in front of him. Even if the other party had once thought of killing him or approached him without good intentions. As long as he could find the real culprit and avenge his mother, he would be willing to give up everything. Do you have any clues? People who hate you and your mother? Or dark individuals who are rich and idle? The faces of those who had bullied Junpei appeared in his mind. Then, based on the person's hint, he determined his enemy in his heart. Can you help me? I want revenge. Junpei's eyes became unusually determined. No problem. I will help you. After undergoing a transformation by a real person, Yoshino Junpei also became able to use magic power. After finding a black dress from his mother's wardrobe and putting it on, he arrived at school. And at this moment, at Rizakura High School, a commendation ceremony was being held in the auditorium. They were completely unaware that danger was approaching. Especially Shota, who Yoshino Junpei identified as the culprit, not only did not notice the danger, but also continued to bully others. When someone noticed, the curse had already been cast by the real person. Countless students fainted under the influence of the curse. Even though Bai Ye was here, he did not intervene. Seeking applause. Now is not the time for him to take action. He just watched coldly from the sidelines, observing Yoshino Junpei. He approached Shota, who was also not unconscious. I have something to ask you. Yoshino Junpei looked coldly at Shota in front of him and said. Did you put that thing in my house, advertisement? Shota, who did not realize the seriousness of the problem, although feeling a bit scared, still spoke with a condescending tone. What are you talking about? Pucci. Before he could finish speaking, Shota felt a pain in his hand. Then he saw black spots appearing on his arm, like the appearance after being poisoned. Swish swish swish. The black spots rapidly increased and spread to his head, causing intense pain. Yikes, oh. What is this? What have you done to me? Shota shouted angrily at Junpei. Not impressive. Smack. Junpei answered Shota's question with a punch, followed by a series of fierce kicks. Thud, thud, thud. Do you think you have the right to answer a question with a question? You're done for, whether your answer is yes or no. Because I can't tell if you're lying, and you deserve this punishment for everything you've done. While Junpei was angrily kicking Shota, Bai Ye still had no intention of intervening. Bai Ye didn't like bullies. Besides, there was no benefit in saving him. Bai Ye was not a saint. He had decided to save some people to change the regrets caused by Akemi, but that didn't include arrogant guys like Shota. Even if a bully received this kind of treatment, he remained indifferent. On Junpei's side, he had already developed a murderous intent towards Shota. Let me see your sincerity in the end. I'm sorry. The roles between the bully and the bullied had switched. And then? So. Just as Junpei was about to take action, Itadori, who was responsible for supervising him, pushed open the door and rushed in. Bai Ye had lost interest in the subsequent developments. All he wanted to do now was to beat up the real person. Dar. Beat up the real person, and at this moment, the real person was still unaware, enjoying their own masterpiece. 73 Taking Yoshino Junpei away, the illusion of a real person, seeking subscription. On top of a teaching building at Sakura High School. The real person here is eagerly watching the development of the story. He didn't notice Bai Ye, who appeared not far behind him. There was just a gust of wind, and he felt a chill. But when he turned around, he didn't find anything unusual. It seems like I was overthinking. That guy won't forgive you. To think he did such a thing to me, the real person gritted his teeth. Bai Ye stood behind the real person, watching him crouched on the edge of the building. He really wanted to kick him. But he held back. Even if he was kicked off from here, it wouldn't cause much harm to the real person. Moreover, let him be proud for a while, and then push him into hell, wouldn't that be better? And at this moment, Jujutsu Kaisen's Junpei Yoshino, who had already clashed with Itadori, was punched by Itadori into this teaching building. In their battle, Itadori was trying to persuade him. Junpei Yoshino had been touched. After enduring an attack from Junpei Yoshino without retaliating, Itadori slowly approached him with his injured body. Junpei, join Jujutsu High. Itadori extended an invitation to Junpei Yoshino. There are incredibly strong teachers there, as well as many reliable comrades. As long as everyone works together, we will definitely find the guy who cursed your mother. He will definitely face retribution. Let's fight together, Junpei. Itadori's sincere invitation moved Junpei Yoshino. And just at this moment, in front of the two of them, the real person appeared with a smirk on his face. Itadori was instantly shocked. Is this guy human? No, that feeling. Open black lens bracket, it's a curse. Close black lens bracket open black lens bracket the person with stitched up face, curse, is exactly the same as what Namami said. Close black lens bracket. Although Itadori realized the identity of the other person, before he could make any move, he was sent flying by the opponent's attack. The person greeted himself in a relaxed and casual voice, "Nice to meet you, the vessel of Sukuna." While saying that, the person approached Yoshino Junpei. "Run away, Junpei. I don't know what your relationship is with this guy. But please, run away now." Itadori, whose movements were restricted by the person, shouted loudly. "Itadori-kun, calm down, advertisement. Mr. Ghetto is not a bad person." A strong sense of discord. When Yoshino Junpei said that, a strong sense of discord came from behind him. That strange feeling. Every cell in his body seemed to strongly tell him that the person behind him was a bad person. And not just any bad person, but an extremely wicked one. At that moment, the person's hand rested on Yoshino Junpei's shoulder. "Junpei, you're probably quite smart, but sometimes overthinking can lead to even more foolish actions than underthinking. You're a typical example. Junpei, you're a fool second only to those who you consider fools. That's why you're going to die." Nothingness, bam. Just as the person was about to launch a technique, Bai Ye intervened. With a punch, he sent the somewhat arrogant person flying. The smile froze. Blood splattered. The same. In an instant, everything disappeared from Itadori's sight. Bai Ye cut off Itadori from obtaining any information from the outside world. Sukuna, who was enjoying the show, was also startled. This curse power is. That guy, things are getting more and more interesting. Even Sukuna inside couldn't know what was happening outside. The real person whose good thing was ruined suddenly became angry. However, when he saw that blurry figure, he instinctively took a step back. Fear. Coming from the depths of the soul, dominating everything about him. He couldn't even make a sound. The figure of Bai Ye, who emitted little curse power, made the real person feel as if he was surrounded by a sea of curse power. Compared to Bai Ye was the ocean, and he was just a small boat in the ocean, with the possibility of being destroyed at any time. Words like small and powerless kept emerging from his heart. Yoshino Junpei was also stunned on the spot. Only when he felt Bai Ye's curse power up close again did he realize how powerful Bai Ye really was. This power deeply attracted Yoshino Junpei. "Yoshino Junpei," Bai Ye spoke slowly. "That guy is the one who cursed your mother." Bai Ye pointed his finger at the real person not far away. After saying that, without giving Yoshino Junpei time to be angry, Bai Ye looked coldly at the real person and said, "You stand too high." Advertisement swish. Accompanied by two sounds of breaking through the air, the real person's legs were cut off. The cut was smooth and even. Thud. Losing support from his legs, the real person fell to the ground instantly. "What's wrong? Are you not accepting it because you held your head high?" Swish. Another sound of breaking through the air. The real person's head was directly cut in half. Bai Ye coldly glanced at the real person and didn't have the intention to exorcise him here. Sensing Nanami Kai quickly approaching, Bai Ye said coldly, "If it weren't for the fact that you still have some use, I could exorcise you right now. However, I'll let you stay a little longer, but you don't plan on killing me, do you?" "No, it's that he can't guarantee that he can actually kill me." The real person had such a misconception in his mind. "Go and grow, go beyond, become stronger, and then come challenge me. But don't die halfway, I haven't had enough fun yet." After Bai Ye finished speaking, he disappeared into the corridor, leaving Juzo Yoshino behind. Along with his disappearance, the confinement on Itadori was also lifted. Seeing what was in front of him, Itadori exploded with anger. In front of him, besides the real person who was slowly recovering his body, there was no longer the figure of Juzo Yoshino. "Real person. What did you do to Yoshino?" Once again, being brutally beaten by Bai Ye, the real person was equally furious and in a sorry state. "If I can't beat that guy, then I can't take care of you either." With this thought in mind, the real person sneered, "Who knows? Even if I kill you, it's not certain." "Who?" Bang. Amidst the howling wind, another punch landed on his face. Under the powerful impact of the punch, the real person stabilized his posture, wearing an expression that seemed to have Itadori 2.0 figured out. "Unfortunately, your attacks are useless against me. As long as I maintain my soul's form." Peefed. Nosebleed gushed out. "What's going on? Even my soul's form is damaged. Is it because he is Sukuna's vessel, and there has always been another soul in his body, so naturally he can perceive the outline of souls? He's my natural enemy, so, is this the reason that guy left Itadori Yuji behind alone? Damn it, but do you think you can get rid of me like this? After I destroy him and bring him before you, let me see the regret on your face. And then slowly torture you to death in your regret. After all, you can't kill me anyway." 74 Conquering Yoshino Junpei, please order in full. With Yoshino Junpei in tow, Bai Ye easily left the tent that the real person had descended upon. They arrived at a quiet place, where Fukurouju had been waiting for a long time. Lord Bai Ye, you have returned safely. Fukurouju greeted him proactively. Bai Ye simply nodded and changed the subject, asking, did you bring it? Yes, I have brought it as instructed by Lord Bai Ye. Very well. Yoshino Junpei couldn't understand a word of Bai Ye and Fukurouju's conversation. But he remembered what Bai Ye had just said. How could this be? The real person is Curse's mother's person. I actually naively thought he was a good person. Yoshino Junpei was in turmoil. His mind was filled with thoughts of revenge. That's right, I want revenge, I want to kill him. Saying that, Yoshino Junpei turned around and headed towards Rizakura High School. But he was stopped by Bai Ye before he had taken a few steps. Why? Why are you obstructing me from seeking revenge? You're clearly so strong, you could have killed him just now. Why did you let him go in the end? Facing Yoshino Junpei's loud reprimand, Bai Ye remained expressionless. Because he still has some value. Do not let him be completely drained of his final worth, continuing to shine and radiate. How else can he experience despair? After answering Giano Junpei's question, Bai Ye continued, Giano Junpei, become my subordinate. As long as you agree to become my subordinate, not only can you seek revenge, but perhaps I can even find a way to revive your deceased mother. Stunned. Giano Junpei's eyes widened instantly, looking at Bai Ye with an incredulous gaze. Fushiguro Megumi, standing by the side, witnessed this incredibly familiar scene and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. How nostalgic. It's so similar to the scene when I first met Bai Ye-sama. Advertisement. Fushiguro Megumi recalled the day he became Bai Ye's subordinate. Although it started as a mere exchange of interests, now he completely respects and obeys Bai Ye. And Bai Ye did not go back on his word. Under Bai Ye's indirect guidance, Fushiguro Megumi has grown into an outstanding sorcerer. Although he still can't compare to Gojo Satoru for now, with Bai Ye's guidance, he will eventually reach that level. What? What did you say? You can really save my mother. Bai Ye-sama never breaks his promises. Before Bai Ye could speak, Fushiguro Megumi spoke first. If you choose not to believe in Bai Ye-sama, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Fushiguro Megumi, who knows everything, had a hint of pride on his face. Bai Ye also timely said, how will you choose? Will you become my subordinate, seeking revenge and saving your own mother? Or will you return there and fight the real person without knowing the outcome? If you insist on choosing the latter, I won't stop you. Faced with Bai Ye's offer, Giano Junpei was caught in a dilemma. But soon, he found the answer in his heart. He chose to become Bai Ye's subordinate. Even if there is only a glimmer of hope, he wants to save his mother. Even if Bai Ye deceived him and couldn't save his mother, at least he could ensure his revenge was successful. I choose to become your subordinate, a smart choice. Bai Ye smiled slightly. Then he said to Fu Hei Shen-er, bring the person out. Yes. Afterwards, Fu Hei Shen-er walked to a nearby big tree and brought out the tearful Yoshino Nagi. Mrs. Yoshino, you can come out now. Upon seeing Yoshino Nagi, Yoshino Shunping was stunned. Their eyes met, and both of them were overcome with excitement and tears. Mother. Shunping, is it really you, mother? Yes, it's me. It was Mr. Bai Ye who saved me. The mother and son embraced each other, having survived the ordeal. Advertisement. Bai Ye gently gave them some time alone and called Shen-er aside to discuss the next steps. Shortly after, Yoshino Shunping finally stabilized his emotions and approached Bai Ye on his own initiative. Thud. Yoshino Shunping knelt directly on the ground. His head pressed tightly against the ground. Lord Bai Ye, thank you for saving my mother. From tonight onwards, my life belongs to you. Tell me what to do, and I will do it, please command me. Seeing Yoshino Shunping sincerely submit, Bai Ye's lips curved into a smile. At the same time, there is also a small sense of accomplishment in my heart. Open black lens bracket. Finally saved another person. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Next. Is it Nanami Kai? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. I wonder if he will become a companion. Close black lens bracket. After a brief thought, Bai Ye instructed Yoshino Junpei, get up, you go back and recuperate for now. After your injuries heal, I will fully rely on you. After Bai Ye finished speaking, he glanced at Yoshino, who nodded in understanding. However, Yoshino Junpei did not get up, still kneeling on the ground. Junpei, do you have something else? Please save my friend, Itadori Yuji, Bai Ye-sama. Yoshino suddenly became angry, just accepted Bai Ye-sama's favor, without any repayment, and dared to make a request with such audacity, you. Before Yoshino finished speaking, Bai Ye raised his hand to stop him. I'm sorry, I spoke out of turn, Yoshino quickly apologized. But Bai Ye didn't mind. Don't worry about it, I understand your good intentions, Yoshino. After saying this to Yoshino, Bai Ye walked up to Yoshino Junpei, using his curse power to help him up, and said seriously, I won't let Itadori be killed. You go back and recuperate properly, I'll be here, a real person can't do anything. Yoshino Junpei had no doubt about Bai Ye's strength. After receiving Bai Ye's affirmative answer, he became even more loyal to Bai Ye. I will recover as soon as possible and go through fire and water for Bai Ye-sama. After bowing again, Yoshino Junpei and his mother followed Yoshino and left. Bai Ye also returned to Ryuman High School. Itadori happened to be in crisis. 75 Genren. Don't come here. When Bai Ye returned to Ririn High School, Itadori was seeking help from Sukuna. However, not only did he not receive any help from Sukuna, but he was also subjected to Sukuna's merciless mockery. You have sacrificed everything, including your dignity and future, to seek me, but in the end, you couldn't save anyone. How pathetic, truly pitiful, kid, ha ha ha. Suddenly, a shock. The laughter abruptly stopped. The air suddenly became quiet, in an instant. Sukuna, who was still laughing wildly, suddenly stopped laughing, and the person next to him was horrified. Bai Ye suddenly appeared within their perception. Tap. Tap. Bai Ye took 2 slow steps forward. Although it seemed like a casual walk, it felt like a heavy hammer striking the hearts of Sukuna and the person. He approached Itadori. Bai Ye softly said, Itadori Yuji. Why are you seeking their help? They are curses, after all. They are complete curses. Even without relying on Sukuna's power, you can defeat the person. After Bai Ye finished speaking, he coldly glanced at the person, then stepped back to the side. With Bai Ye's reminder, Itadori also suddenly realized. He's right. Why am I seeking help from curses? Having awakened, Itadori no longer relied on Sukuna. He would use his own fists to exorcise the person. The battle was about to begin. Bai Ye had no intention of intervening. This is a good opportunity to promote Itadori's growth, especially since Namami will arrive soon. Therefore, Bai Ye chose to remain a bystander. Even so, the sorcerer was also cautious and did not dare to be careless. After a round of attacks, the sorcerer seemed to realize that Bai Ye would not easily take action, so the attacks became bolder. After seizing an opportunity to severely injure Itadori, the sorcerer became even more arrogant. You can't defeat me, hurry up and switch to Sukuna. As long as we can win over Sukuna, even that guy can be dealt with. Advertisement. With this thought in mind, the sorcerer planned to force Itadori to switch. At the same time, he kept an eye on Bai Ye, who stood not far away with folded arms. Seeing the sorcerer's actions, Bai Ye not only had no reaction, but also a smile appeared on his lips. What is about to happen next is truly delightful. Just then, the sorcerer launched the technique, Wu Wei transformation, on Itadori. Thump. In the instant the technique was activated, the sorcerer's heart skipped a beat. A powerful pressure far exceeding his own enveloped him. The sorcerer's soul was pulled into Sukuna's domain. What appeared before him was not Itadori's soul, but Sukuna. Sukuna in his soul form. Do you want to touch my soul? As someone who has mocked the little brat from the bottom of my heart, I'll let you off this time. But there won't be a next time. Weigh your own worth, you fool. Sukuna's voice was cold, with a warning tone. Although he was helpless against Bai Ye, dealing with a sorcerer weaker than himself was more than enough. Taking advantage of the moment when the sorcerer was stunned by being dragged into the domain by Sukuna, Itadori grabbed the sorcerer's head and delivered a fierce headbutt. Then, he kicked the sorcerer's face, deforming it. The facial features twisted into a knot. Itadori pursued relentlessly. However, the awakened sorcerer easily dodged and circled behind him. His arm transformed into a giant wolf's fang club, swinging towards Itadori. Clang! Just as the attack was about to hit Itadori, Namami arrived and took the blow. Under the alternating attacks of the two, the awakened sorcerer had no ability to resist. A strong, death, aura enveloped his entire body. Is this death? It should be achievable now. On the brink of death, the sorcerer awakened his domain. Domain expansion. Self-enclosed circle, palms emerged from the ground one by one. The palms pushed Itadori aside and dragged Namami into his own domain. Success. Even that guy shouldn't be able to easily enter my domain now. This is my ultimate domain. He must be surprised and regretful. Killing a grade 1 sorcerer in front of him. Advertisement. This feeling is so good. Now, I should have the ability to kill him. I want to thank you, the sorcerer smiled and said to Namami. In the midst of the sorcerer's slight arrogance, Namami also realized his own predicament. He was in the pinnacle of Jujutsu that he couldn't reach. Inside the domain. Being toyed with by the curse before his eyes. Memories flashed through Nanami's mind. and they froze on the scene where he was thanked for doing something insignificant. Taking off her glasses, Namami, who believed that she was approaching the end of her life, showed no fear or panic. No need, I have already been thanked by many people. I have no regrets. Just as Nanami was generously prepared to die. A sense of disharmony, a strong sense of unease suddenly emerged from Nanami and the real person's hearts. The immense curse pressure that had enveloped Nanami within the domain suddenly disappeared. In its place was another kind of feeling. This feeling seemed familiar to Nanami. This is. While Nanami was surprised, the real person's face was filled with shock and surprise. The feeling of the domain slipping out of his control became increasingly clear. Before he could even feel proud, Bai Ye had already taken control of the domain. How could this happen? The real person looked at his own hands in confusion. Soon, he saw Bai Ye, who should not have appeared within the domain, suddenly appear behind Nanami. Chilling. How could this be? When did that guy? Why can that guy enter? What a joke. Just as he was angry, he suddenly realized that the range of the domain had expanded tenfold. Itadori was included within the range of the domain. While pulling Itadori into the domain, Bai Ye smiled and retracted the domain expansion. Absolute assimilation. Control once again fell into the hands of the real person. Thump. The real person's heart suddenly stopped beating. In trouble. No, don't come any closer. However, no matter how much he resisted in his heart, the domain that returned to his hands still touched Sukuna's soul. I already said there wouldn't be a second time.